Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Stone Genius. My name's Ro, I'm the Stone Genius. You know me, I'm often stoned, I'm always a genius. I have Catherine with us today again. Hello, Catherine.
Oh, the claps. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Since I can't use any of those other voices and everything else you like on the soundboard, I'll use, I do know where that button is.
Okay.
I do know where that button is.
That's good. You did get it right. Good
So
job.
today is going to be something new for you and I. We have a remote guest. David Gowans is going to be joining us. David is a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Marines. He's also a published author on a book about leadership and success in the Marines. He was also a air traffic controller, did many other things, I think, inside and maybe outside the Marines, force protection, anti-terrorism, small arms instruction. So David has a vast background, but currently he's a real estate agent in the Seattle Tacoma area.
Broker? I think broker.
Broker?
Yeah.
I'm going to find out in just a second. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Excellent sound effects.
Ah,
Excellent.
thanks. You know, they used to be better, and that's. I don't know your age, David. I'm 55, and my co-host, I'll just say she's not 55, so she may bust my balls about a lot of things, but I didn't even think to test the phone line after the update. I mean, I thought it was funny that Catherine, you lost your voice, but I didn't even think to do that. So we had a little snafu. David stuck in with us, and now he's here with the show. So welcome to the show, David.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So now I have only been to the Seattle area once. Is Seattle Tacoma? I'm trying to remember if when I got there, how big of area that is that you're covering. Is Seattle Tacoma, is it all one metropolis or are they kind of different cities?
Yeah, they're kind of different cities. It's very similar to, if you're familiar with the Northern California, with the Bay Area there, it's very similar to San Francisco to San Jose.
Okay.
Type of thing.
Okay, that makes perfect sense then.
Or East Coast, DC to Maryland, DC to Baltimore type of thing.
Okay. Yeah,
But
here in Kansas City, I was thinking we live on the state line. So we have Kansas City is both Kansas City, Kansas, and Missouri. And
Yep.
so, but I grew up in Tampa. So a lot of people will think of a metropolis kind of like that. So I wasn't sure if SeaTac or Seattle Tacoma was like that, or I grew up in Tampa, which Tampa and St. Petersburg are vastly different cities as well. So you are now in the Seattle Tacoma area, and I guess I should follow up. What did you bring up, Catherine? You said I introduced him as an agent, and you said
Broker. Every set of agents has a broker that oversees them.
so.
So he
David,
would be
did
higher
I
up
did I
as a broker.
incorrectly? Are you a broker or an agent?
Okay, so check this out. It's different in all states.
Oh,
licensed-
snap! In
Let's
your
see,
face,
let's see.
Catherine.
Let him talk. Let
Okay.
the man talk.
Check it out. So I've been licensed in 3 states. I started in South Carolina. I was then licensed in California when I retired in 2010, and I worked there for a few years. And then I came up here to Washington and got licensed here. So all 3 states do it differently. In Washington, everyone who gets a real estate license becomes a broker.
Oh.
So that's the kind of broker I am. I'm a real estate agent who in Washington State is also called a broker. Now, the kind of broker that you mentioned is the managing broker. Or a managing broker,
Okay.
and you get a 1 level up license to be that. And just like in others, which is the case in all of the other states as well, it's just here you start out getting called a broker right away,
Just
whereas
terminology.
everywhere else you're an agent until you become that managing broker. Right?
Makes sense. See, we've already covered one difference between that. So
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I didn't. Now,
So
hold
I said all
on.
that to say I'm a regular broker,
Okay.
regular old agent.
So let me ask this. Following that timeline, you started in South Carolina, then you went to California. You said you retired. Is that from the military?
Yes.
Okay, so you so am I to assume correctly that you started being an agent, broker, whatever we want to call it in South Carolina, you started that while you were still in the military?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what led you to had you always wanted to do this? I mean, was it something that someone in your family had done? What led you to fall in love with real estate?
Yeah, it was totally on my own. I kind of stumbled on it on myself. Uh, man, I'm gonna say probably in my mid 20s. I just always kind of been curious about selling real estate or maybe investing in real estate or something like that because I knew people that, these guys that were owning homes and renting them out to people were getting their mortgages paid by other people. And I just had to have that.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's the other people paying,
Right.
basically increasing your net worth for you. That just made a lot of sense to me. So I kind of just kind of hemmed and hawed about ways to potentially slide into doing that in my 20s. By the time I was approaching 30, I was reaching the end of my second marriage, and I was actually starting to read uh, about money, and that's a subject that was never covered for me in school,
Right.
and all the way up through
Nobody.
the
No
end
one
of high
does that.
school. Nobody talks about. I mean, you might get a how to balance a checkbook in your home economics class or something, but other than that, nobody talks about anything else. So, in order to learn, I had to read books, and once I read my first book, it just a fire lit, and I just ravenously read everything I could get for several years. Bought my first house about the age of 30. I got married for the second time around the age of 30, had a kid. So my life started changing. I'd already been in the Marines for 10 years by then.
That
So I then got orders, moved around, things happened, ended up buying another house, um, using my GI Bill to do this. And then went to Iraq in 2007. I came back towards the end of 2007. I was wound up. Man, I was so wound up. I was used to working 16 to 20 hours a day or being awake doing activities
right.
that were work focused.
Right.
I wasn't working the entire every moment, but everything I was doing was focused on work in some
Right.
way. Um, but when I came back, that was just turned off suddenly, and I was like, I got all this energy. I was doing stuff for so many hours a day, every day, day on, stay on until I
Right.
came back. That I was just like, I can't turn that off. I'm freaking out here. I'm bouncing off the walls. So I was like, you know what, great opportunity. I got some leave, started with the leave, spent time with the family, but I was still bouncing off the walls and started taking some real estate classes. Next thing you know, I got my license in the beginning of 2008, which
Oh,
guess what
what a
happened about
time.
Yeah.
6 months later.
Yeah.
So well, not every, but as many real estate agents do the first time they get licensed, I sat in the front desk, uh, basically doing what they call floor duty,
Board
sitting
duty.
there at the desk waiting for somebody to walk into the office and say, "Can you help me buy a house?"
Uh-huh.
I sat there for 6 months doing that, and not a single client that way. But I did get one client finally, a young lady, and this young lady saw a for sale sign right after I talked to her the first time, and this is down in this is South Carolina, coastal South Carolina, near Paris Island, which
Okay.
is where a big Marine base is. Okay, and it's near Hilton Head, which
Mm-hmm.
is a huge snowbird destination with I think there was 71 golf courses there last before I left, and so lots of traffic, lots of turnover, lots of things real estate wise happening there. And anyway, she saw this sign down near on the edge of one of those communities, and she stops. And it turns out that this home was open. The broker who had listed it was inside, and it was a foreclosure. It was an REO. Now I'm a brand new agent, don't know anything about that, but
Yep.
this lady walks in there and says, "Hey, would it be okay if we looked at the house since you have it open?" He says, "Sure, come on in." So she goes, she looks at it, and halfway through the looking, this guy basically jumps on her, is like, "So I can help you buy this house, no problem, whatever." And she's like, "No, I got an agent, he'll help me." And he's like, "Oh no, that's not how this works. You walked into my listing, and now you're my client."
Oh,
It's called. So that's how my career
So
started. That was my first client.
I hate
so
these
hold on.
stories.
So is that not because the way that you responded, Catherine, here from what David just said, is that
There's
is
a realtor code of ethics
so it's just
out
like
there that
unethical? I mean, like, is it because I know that there are contracts and stuff that with agents. So is it illegal or just unethical or do
So
you?
there's two things at play here.
Okay.
One thing is the old traditional thought of uh, procuring cause. And what that means is if you're a broker and you have, whether it's your listing or someone else's listing, if you hold a buyer's hand or you open a door for a
Caused
buyer
the
to walk
sale.
into it
Yeah.
and they cross the threshold, you are the person that rates the commission for that purchase for that buyer.
Okay.
This is an old thought that is outdated and outmoded because we do things differently today, okay, and have been doing them differently for like a couple decades now. However, this guy, we was in South Carolina, and I learned some things about the Southeast. I didn't grow up in the Southeast. I grew up in a couple places. I moved around a little bit, but ultimately I grew up in California. So the culture shock in the
A little
Southeast for
different.
me
Right.
was a little. The good old boy network was the most infuriating part of that entire experience.
So, do you know, was this agent that was doing this, was he an older
Yes.
person?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
He was in
that's
his
why. Okay. So it
older
wasn't
guy,
like,
I'd
he
been
said
doing it a
good
long
old boy.
time.
okay,
Mhm.
well,
Yep.
no, good old boy literally can mean like any male over the age of like 8 in the South. So
Yeah.
that would be considered a good
Okay.
old boy.
Wow.
So, because they're probably chewing and spitting. I mean, I'm from Florida, so I've driven back and forth the numerous times. So, no. So it was a good old boy. Okay.
I don't mean to be insulting by using the term good old boy. By good old boy, there's this thing called a good old boy network. Or at least this is a phrase that we use in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anytime you go someplace around a base, especially in the Southeast, especially because it's just a cultural difference down there. There's the locals, the older men that are locals that are kind of around the place. They live there. It's just like any small town. People know each other. You know what I mean? Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And when you got an environment like that, them old middle-aged guys, they got a little click and they got a little network. And if you know what I mean, that's the good old boy network. And sometimes those guys play by different rules than they make everyone else play by.
Correct.
And that kind of stuff pisses me off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just from just a natural humanity standpoint, it's upsetting. Anyway, get back on the story.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear that
Well,
up because
like
I'm
in
not
the-
an agent. So with
Well,
her
in the
response,
current-
that's why I just wanted to
in the current
ask.
times, and it can differ between, and I'll say managing brokers because I'm talking about the person above you and the company that you're
Right.
working for. Definitely have different standards and expectations. And
Okay.
one of the common things with mine, and I feel like is kind of our day and age now, is you have, yes, there's contracts and things like that, but you also have agent to agent courtesy.
Okay.
So don't go around burning all your bridges with people just to make one sale.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I wanted
If
clarification.
a client says they have an agent that they are working with that they like, then you don't just go try and pull the rug out.
It was
from
almost
it.
like you, Catherine, and David had created your own good old boy network, and I was on the outside because I didn't know what you all were talking about. So I needed clarification.
We're tight.
No,
David.
it's fine.
You and I
No.
are tight.
No, you guys use all these code words and things. Ooh, cool.
This guy obviously pre-flighted.
Okay, so yes, to get
So
back to
back
the
to his
story.
story.
Yes, back to your story.
Okay, back into the story. So this lady comes back to me and tells me what this guy said, and I'm just like, what the f? And of course, now keep in mind, I've been a jarhead for 18 years at this point. I just got back from a combat zone. I'm ready to go rip this guy's throat out.
Yeah.
And then I go to my broker and I say, hey, this just happened. And he starts chuckling. he goes, don't worry about that asshole. He says, you help your client. And I said, because I was worried. I didn't know what the heck was going on. This guy started saying stuff, and I knew what he was talking about because I went to an actual real estate school. You know, I didn't do this online stuff. I actually had somebody explain stuff to me that I didn't understand when I was initially learning the rules in that state. So I understood what this guy was doing from the get-go. I just could not freaking believe that, one, that it was even happening, that somebody had the gall to do that, but two, that it was happening on my first one.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's been the story of my life, and I am not bullshitting you. I could write a book, and I've got a book even started about just the craziness that if shit could happen crazy, it's going to happen to me for sure, and probably one of the very first times I do it. That's just
Another
the way
reason
my
why
life
I'm
goes.
in his network.
Yeah.
So
okay, now
I feel the same way.
I have a question about, because I'm stuck on this sale right now because we have a for instance. So if that person, that other real estate agent, now I know your broker's saying don't worry about it, but could that other real estate agent, could they have held to that code and say, well, I'm not going to entertain an offer from this lady unless I'm her agent or something like that?
He sure could have, and
Okay.
he probably was his own broker or something. But if that would have happened, that would have been no problem. My broker would have just started talking, and I would have just shut up.
Okay.
And my broker would have taken over. My managing broker, actually, he was the owning broker. He owned the company,
Right.
and
Yeah.
he would have just stepped in and said, "No, we'll be taking half of that commission." And
Okay.
if that guy had a problem, he would have taken it straight to the guys above us that do the licensing and in our association who settle our differences and grievances and whatnot.
I've
So
never even
There's
thought
a
about
board
that.
board of real estate.
See,
you know,
I've
so.
never talked about that with Catherine because I never even thought about. I mean, I know you all are licensed, but I never really thought about.
If you
Sorry,
don't
I
follow
haven't
the
given
code
you
of
that.
ethics,
I haven't
you
given your
can-
career that much thought, Catherine.
if
Sorry.
you don't follow the code of ethics, you're at risk for complaints,
all
and then
sorts
those
of stuff.
complaints get investigated by the board and
could
you
result
know,
in fines.
Could result in fines, revocation of license, suspension of license, all that. You'd have to do
Yeah.
something pretty serious. But I mean, that agent there, it does become like almost immediately you have to make it a battle of like your managing brokers. So they're the ones that know the real consequences. So they're going to sort it out. Usually, because I've had a few agents do the same, and I feel like some of those older, like more old school agents, they feel like that term procuring cause just gives all younger or newer agents this deer in the headlights. It's an intimidation tactic, and they're just hoping that that person just bows out because they're scared and they're like, fine, take it. But ultimately, if I brought an offer to that agent's listing, he's obligated to present any and all offers to his seller. So he's almost not representing his seller by withholding this offer from them. He can argue about it with the brokers, but at the end of the day, he's doing his seller a slight by not presenting something that you've.
Is that the same for
Oh,
you,
hugely.
David? I mean, it's same law. I mean,
Absolutely.
okay. That's why I think I love learning stuff. So now, so that was your first. Was that your first completed sale? Did it go
No,
through?
I didn't even sell that woman anything. It was just that was my first client that I was helping.
Was she
But
just flake
what's
out?
very
or-
interesting and what came out of this was I actually started focusing on what that guy was doing right after this happened. I wanted because I had time. It's not like I had a clients falling out of my backside. So after work, now I was an E8 in the Marines when I was doing this. So I was running an air traffic control facility during the day.
E8
then,
is that? I think I saw, and I should have said this at the beginning. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Secondly, I saw some, and I'm going to ask this now. E8 is that master sergeant?
In my case, it was, yes.
Okay, because I think I saw that. So I had this question: what's the difference between a master sergeant and a regular sergeant? And I'm being serious because I'm not military.
Don't worry, I'll
Okay.
always get us back to your story, David. But Ro likes
okay.
some rabbit holes.
Yeah, I
so-
do.
I'm cool with the rabbit holes.
Okay.
That's it's like time traveling. So a sergeant is an E5 in the Marines.
Okay.
In fact, a sergeant is an E5 in every service that has sergeants. Now, there's a difference though between all the other services in the Marines. The Marines call the ranks by the ranks. So a E5 in the Marines is a sergeant, an E6 is a staff sergeant, an E7 is a gunnery sergeant, and an E8 is either going to be a master sergeant or a first sergeant.
Okay.
So in the Army, though, you have the same ranks: sergeant, staff sergeant. There's no gunnery sergeant; it's a sergeant first class, and then you've got a master sergeant at the E8 point. They don't have two. Actually, they have the first sergeant as well. They have two.
Okay.
So, but those are both E8s. Okay. The difference between the two is the Army will call all of them sergeant, and it's totally acceptable. Whereas in the Marine Corps, if you call a staff sergeant, his head will explode right before he reaches into your throat and starts removing body parts. And
Good
it
to
gets
know.
worse the higher in rank they go.
Okay.
So you got to call them. In fact, there's a couple of traditions in the Marines where some of the ranks have like nicknames, right? Like a master sergeant and a first sergeant had a nickname for a while of Top. And this is decades back, going back to World War II, or maybe even before that. I don't even know where this. I don't even recall where it was started. but it's a tradition. Like these master sergeants are referred to kind of like in a loving manner as Top. Hey,
Uh-huh.
go ask Top. What the answer to that question is. Whatever.
Just
I
because you're at
called
the
a
top
master
of the
sergeant.
class? Like, is that what that
No,
comes
it's just
from?
top.
Or?
It's like top sergeant because
Okay, yeah.
you
Okay.
got 6
Top.
stripes. You
Yep.
know,
Have you?
Got it.
the only person with more stripes is a sergeant major.
Yep.
I'm trying
So
to think.
maybe
There was a Clint Eastwood movie.
Oh, boy.
I know him as
Rabbit hole to rabbit
a.
hole.
No, he was a gunnery sergeant, and I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
They go to
Heartbreak
Grenada.
Ridge, I think. I think it
Yes,
was
Heartbreak Ridge, and
Yeah.
I think they call him Top in that.
No,
So,
they called him Gunny
oh, okay, Gunny,
because he was a gunnery sergeant.
because
So
they kept
that's
trying to
the
figure
nickname.
out the shirts and stuff. So, okay, sorry, that
Yeah.
is me going rabbit hole.
So I freaking call this mass. We're in South Korea. I'm on my first deployment. It's 1991, I think. I'm on my first deployment. This guy's a master sergeant. I'm in the back of this truck. He gets out of the truck, and I happen to have attended a Korean language school shortly before this deployment, and so I spoke Korean at the time. And he gets out of the truck, and this guy's 6'4". His voice is about 3 octaves lower than mine, and he's ugly. And he gets out the truck really fast, and there's a guard that we pulled up next to get onto this airfield in Pohang, South Korea. And this guy's armed with a freaking automatic weapon that's loaded. And this idiot gets out the truck with his deep ass voice and his big personality and says, "Let us onto the airfield." And I'm like, holy shit, he's going to get us all shot.
Right.
Because this guy is scared shitless. This South Korean, it was a Korean Marine. And obviously intimidated. Well,
Right.
of course, I would be too if a truckload of people pulled up and this asshole jumped out and started saying that stuff. So he calls, anyway, he starts freaking out, and I don't know what's going to happen. So I said something in Korean. I said, "Hey, call your corporal of the guard." And I said that in Korean. And he looked at me like, "What the?" Like,
Do
and
you
I had to
remember
say
what
it.
that sounds like in Korean? Just curious.
I don't even remember how to say that. Actually, it's been so
Oh,
long.
dang it.
I can say a lot of things in Korean, but it's all stuff you would say in bars. So I should probably restrict myself to that right now.
Right.
Okay.
But
go
anyway,
on.
anyway, that's what I told this guy. Is like, just call your corporal of the guard. It's a vocabulary thing. I just don't remember what the vocabulary is for corporal of the guard right now. But anyway, I said it 2 or 3 times, and he got the hint, and he picks up his phone, calls the corporal of the guard, who came out and let us onto the airfield, and everything was cool. How did I even get started on the
We're
story?
talking about Master
Well,
Sergeant.
Well,
Oh,
actually,
Master Sergeant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I called this guy Top right afterwards. I said, "It's okay, Top. You know, he was about to shoot us, but we're alive." I said something like that. And and he goes, "Top? Who the fuck are you calling Top? Do I spin on my fucking head like a goddamn top?" And he starts fucking flipping out. And I'm like, "Whoa! I'm sorry, Master Sergeant. I'm really sorry."
So why are they? And I guess wasn't military, so I don't know why. I guess you'd be hung up about that. I mean, if you
Well, that was his personal preference.
Yeah.
There was lots of master sergeants that liked to be called Top back then. He had a personal preference that I had. I didn't know him well enough. I'm sitting here whispering sweet nothings in his freaking ear like he's my drinking buddy, and I don't know him.
right.
That was the essential mistake that I made. So it's all good. I got
Somehow
another good
this
story
has
about
to-
that guy.
I was going to say, somehow I think we were trying to tie this rabbit hole back to
His first
how
non-sale.
he started kind of
Yeah.
watching this other real guy in real estate who
Right.
seemed
Yeah.
to be a little
Yeah, that was
We
the-
did.
you
I
brought it
just
right back.
I would forget, and that's why we have her here. I mean, that's why I have her here
is good.
because I don't finish stories very well, but Catherine tries
That's
to
good.
help.
young brains.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we went off on a rank tangent. So coming back
Yes.
to the story about the
was a
real estate
great
broker who had procuring cause. So this guy, I started digging into this, because I didn't have a lot of business, and I found out that that thing that she was looking at was a foreclosure, right? And I was like, well, that's
Right.
interesting. So it's a foreclosure. That means it's owned by a bank, and this guy somehow has gotten it from that bank and he's listed it for sale. Well, that's very interesting. How the hell did he get that? So I started looking around. It took me weeks doing, searching on the internet for all kinds of stuff. And I finally found some things.
because REO doesn't indicate that it's bank owned. REO means real estate owned. So that's how you, right?
I don't know.
REO is an acronym for real estate owned,
Uh huh.
but that acronym is an indicator that it is owned by an institution.
Okay.
And it's not necessarily a bank.
Right.
It could be a hedge fund, it could be a bank, it could be a credit union, it could be anything, but it's not a person,
Yeah.
and it's not a business entity. It's an actual lender that actually got it back when this because it was collateral for some loan that defaulted.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
that's what real estate owned is.
so David, this is
Yeah.
2008, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So did you already know at this time that were we? Because I know what happened in 2008, but I'm trying to remember how much of a heads up everyone had. So did you already know that the market was kind of going this way towards foreclosures with this one, or was it just perfect timing for you?
Here's what I found out. I didn't know anything. Okay, I was ignorant, naive, just like every real estate agent. Most every agent is when they start. But the one thing that I recognized right after I got my license is I was walking down the street in Beaufort, South Carolina. Right, they had a couple of real estate offices there, and they used to plaster these listings up on their windows, so you could, like, while you're walking down the sidewalk, stop and look at the listings that they have. I was looking at these things, and people in 2008, people were flipping property so fast that on their list, it would show a property that had sold less than 6 months before the day I was standing there. And then they would show the same property for sale again for 200,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
And the list was 85 deep, and 60 of them were like that. And I'm looking at this going, how the F are these people justifying an increase of 50% over 6 months? There's no F in what they're either putting lipstick on a pig,
Right.
or this is totally unjustifiable, and either way it's unjustifiable and unsustainable.
Right.
How in the hell is this happening to such depth? Like, I couldn't wrap my head around why it was so deep and how it could continue. I didn't understand. So anyway, that was in February. That was 6 months before shit fell apart.
Okay.
This event with this other broker happened about July. By August, I had found out where he had gotten a couple, and I started applying with them. August or September, beginning of September, is about when the market fell apart, the lending market.
Right.
And then most buying stopped. Well, right about that time, I started getting responses from the people whom I was trying to communicate with that were either asset managers or actual banks that had inventory that needed to be liquidated.
Yep.
And once I got that, I got a couple of tests. Like, they had me do a couple of BPOs, value some properties for them.
Mm-hmm.
A BPO is a broker price opinion.
Okay.
It's something that banks will pay a little bit of money to get from a broker, instead of paying for a full appraisal. And that saves them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to do that.
Yeah.
They
They use that in relocation, corporate relocation now too.
Yep.
Yep.
And they can get 2 or 3 BPOs for like $300, whereas an appraisal costs $800. You know what I mean? So they can find out values a lot easier that way. So they had me do a couple BPOs. I gave them good values, and they came back and said, "Hey, here you go, sell it." They dropped one in my lap. I'm on active duty still at this time. I'm still doing my active duty stuff. So I'm doing this on at night and on the weekends, doing all this real estate stuff. And once I got the first one, we liquidated it. I think that was the Pink Beach House. That thing was 4,500 square feet, and it was on waterfront
Whoa.
in a place called Hunting Island, which is where they filmed a lot of that Forrest Gump movie. But the Vietnam scenes, they're
Right.
all weird looking. They filmed all that stuff on Hunting Island, South Carolina.
Wow.
But this house was like 2 blocks from there, across a piece of water, and right on the sound. And boy, it was just trashed because it was a foreclosure. People that left were
Right.
pissed. So they kicked holes in the walls, took appliances with them. And most foreclosures are in that condition.
I never
but
see, and I'm gonna butt in. I never understood that about foreclosures. So we were never, but I never understood. So here's the thing: we bought a house in 2006, and I remember we were approved for like $700,000, and we're like, no thanks. So we bought a house for like 230, because, and so when the market did crash, we were okay and everything was fine. But it seemed like a lot of people, like, we could have bought a house for 700,000, and then we would have been foreclosed on at some point because we wouldn't have been able to pay that. And then I don't understand being mad at. Sorry, I just don't understand people at all. So anyway, you get into the foreclosure market. Sorry, I just had a riff on dumb
Well,
people
I
that do
have
dumb
thoughts about
things.
that myself. I spent 10 years living overseas while I was in the Marines.
Uh-huh.
And so I've been to a lot of other countries and spent a lot of time, months and months and months and months at a time with other people, other cultures, and just not just in the Marines from people across the country, let alone the people in the countries where we were.
Right.
So having that exposure, I came back and I noticed a lot of things that I didn't notice before. And I've noticed that we Americans are extremely entitled people.
Yeah.
And the moment you begin to take that entitlement or restrict it, we tend to become very angry.
We don't like
And this is
consequences.
Nope.
yeah, consequences are another story.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level of entitlement. Anyway, back to the market. So I got that first foreclosure. We sold it, and once I did one well, I suddenly had three at a time dropping in my lap.
Okay, so hold on. I'm going to stop one other quick second. So you're near the Hilton Head, that area, which is kind of a
Yeah.
resorty area. So is
Yep.
that market dramatically different than the rest of the nation? And how is it like, Tampa
Yes.
and St. Pete has a lot of beach property, but it's not, I mean, people vacation there, but Hilton's Head really a vacation. Like you said, the golf courses and things like that. So was it a really different market even without
Oh
this whole
yes.
foreclosure thing? Okay, it was. Okay.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Dramatically different. In fact, right now, we can talk about the market right now. For the last 6 months, I've been listening, not 6 months, since November, anyway, of 2022. I've been listening to the media, all segments of the media, scream about prices dropping everywhere. And if you look at national statistics, it's absolutely correct. They've been dropping since November. But if you just maybe go back a couple of years and look at the same numbers, you'll start to notice a pattern, like a repeating pattern that happens every year. It's really
Right.
strange. And it's called, what I call it, a seasonal cycle. And I tell buyers about this and I tell sellers about it too. There's actually a seasonal cycle that just happens.
Well,
It
I
just happens
also
because
remind them about the fact that a national statistic doesn't mean that
yeah.
that is exactly what our area is. Like
And I
Kansas
was just about to
City
swing
is
around to
so
that piece
different
too.
from
Right.
That's
Seattle.
right.
You
There's
know,
local stuff and it's going to be a national average, just a national average. There's going to be outliers to the bottom and to the top of that. And guess what? The coast, the left coast, especially from top to bottom, is pretty much one of those outliers. The demand on the West Coast has not diminished. I mean,
Right.
it's gone down in a couple of pockets, sure, but overall, it's not diminished. It's sideways. I can pull up. I was hoping to have because you were wanting to talk about real estate. I was hoping to do this on the computer because I can pull up my statistics and show you how we are still right now in Seattle on an upward trend price wise. And I'm talking about closed sales. And we just finished the slowest part of the entire year for sales and closed sales and buyers coming into the market, inventory coming to the market. Slowest part of the year is December, January, and it starts to pick up in February, right? So we're coming through the slowest part of the year, and despite that, the trends are still heading up.
mhm.
Is that what you're
The
seeing
the
here in Kansas City, Catherine? Or
Yeah, and we usually pop a little bit before February, and then it kind of dies down a little.
Yep.
Like mid-March, people are on spring break. I mean, in the Midwest here, we have to leave to go on a good vacation.
Yeah.
So our shifts are like very, very centered around the school year and when people
Yep.
go on vacations.
Okay.
But we've also had a lot of first-time, young buyers here stretching their budgets, and so we have seen a lot of them leave the market just because of interest rates. But there's still, we have an incredibly huge 55 plus
You looked
population
at me
here.
when you said
So, and they all need homes still. So, like, I mean, there can be shifts, but I don't feel like it's an indicator of what's to come. You
Right.
know, it's just this in and out cycle. And as David's referring
Yeah.
to, we
Right.
see these seasons.
I've noticed. I've also noticed in the last just couple of 6 weeks or so, the normal uptick in buyers and stuff entering the market. In fact, there's more homes entering the market this year than there was this time last year. But despite that, the demand is actually much higher than I expected for January,
Because
as far
some
as buyers
people
running
sat
around.
out last year. Some people said, "Nope, I'm
Yeah.
gonna wait because I
So,
don't want to pay 100,000 more than list
yep.
price for a
And
home."
so what I believe it is pent up demand. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
And if there's pent up demand and they see these rates start to top, which they appear to be starting to do, because they're going to raise them one or two more times by a quarter point, unless something drastic happens or changes. That's what they're signaling they're going to do. That means that pent up demand may just show up. And if it does, Jesus, what if we slide back into a seller's market with high rates? That's going to hurt some buyers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm frantically out there every day trying to find sellers. I can't. Every effort I'm making right now is just trying to find sellers.
Okay, David. So we're back in South Carolina now. Look at that. I pulled
Yep.
this back. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
So you're back. So you're focusing on the REO market. Is that correct? That'd be the
Yes.
correct
Foreclosures,
term.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So your foreclosures. So are you doing this for the benefit of your real estate business or your own personal portfolio?
Oh, real estate business.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not collecting homes doing this. I'm
Okay.
only selling them for banks. And I was still on active duty. So I was 18 months from retirement towards the end of it. I was a year into selling the foreclosures. Just coming up on a year, actually. I had sold a lot of them, like nearly well over 20, and inside of 12 months. It was insane.
Well, and
But
let me
I
stop
sold
here.
them. Go ahead.
Is the foreclosure more difficult? Like, is it more paperwork start to end, or is it or is it the
It's a
same?
ton more work.
It
Ton
is?
more work for
Okay.
the listing
Okay.
agent.
Okay.
Yeah. And part of it is cleaning the house out.
Okay.
You
For
don't
the
have to
listing
just,
agent, it's more. So
Yeah.
for a buying
yeah,
agent, it may not be. It's just a purchase.
it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
buying agent, it's almost transparent.
Okay.
But at the time, the average market sale time in that area was 9 months on a house,
Okay.
and that was before the thing happened in August where the market fell apart.
Right.
So that was trailing into that. 9 months was the average sale time. I started selling them in 45 days, and the way I was able to do it was just by using words, which just blew my freaking mind. So on my first one, that one I was talking about a little while ago, I tried to put a description in the MLS that accurately reflected what it was.
The pink
And
house.
I used the word a foreclosure. And I also used the term REO because I knew computers were searching stuff, and people could search things. So I wanted some specific terms in there because I wanted people who were looking for what I had to find it. Makes sense, right?
You were thinking
Yeah.
about SEO. Yeah. So yep.
Well, yeah, actually, funny you should say that. I was studying SEO for that first 6 months that I was sitting there doing nothing.
Geez, I didn't even know
And that's why I
SEO
was
really
doing
was a
this.
focus back in 2008.
Yeah,
That's
everybody
cool.
was trying to start the blogs
You were
and all
on the
that
front
stuff.
end
So,
of that.
yep. So anyway, I did that on this first listing, and I got they turned my listing off, and they fined me immediately, and then they sent me nasty grams to my broker and me saying my listing was all jacked up, and I better fix it before I get fined and get my license taken. And I was like, whoa,
Were you not
what
allowed to
did I
say
do?
that?
I was not allowed to use the word foreclosure or the term REO.
Whoa.
I said,
See, that's why
whoa,
we
wait a
have
minute.
brokers because there's rules that kind of like do and don't make
Well,
sense. But
actually,
like, okay.
I didn't even need my broker because I was an air traffic controller. And air traffic controllers spend a lot of time reading stuff that's written by lawyers. So I can actually speak lawyer. So I actually went into that office where the MLS was. It was the association for the county was running the MLS.
Uh-huh.
So they're the ones who told me you can't do this. I said, okay. I went in there and I sat down with my paperwork for the listing. And I said, listen, why can't I use the term foreclosure or REO? And they said, well, you can't do that because it's misleading. It makes somebody think that it's something that it's not. And I said, well, hold on a second.
That's exactly what
This
it is.
house, this house is owned by Bank of America. It is
So-
in fact both a foreclosure and an REO.
And as long as your seller
Next.
is okay with you marketing it that way.
And if they want they want the highest price they can get. They don't care what the hell I say in my listing. You know what I mean?
Right.
At least at the time they didn't. They just want money and they want it fast. And I was getting it to them in 45 days, vice 9 months. So they were happy with me. That's why they kept sort of dumping them on me. But anyway, back to where I.
So were you not? So you didn't even need to. So once you started doing this, showing your returns at 45 days, you weren't even having to solicit them at any.
No.
They were just giving them to you.
Yeah, dropping in my lap.
Okay.
Yep, it was. I didn't have enough time to service. I was. In fact, I was about to retire, and I thought, I can retire. I won't have to run the facility anymore. I can focus only on this, and I could do, ramp up my business times 3.
Right.
And hire people and stuff. It'd be great. And then I got orders overseas. I'm like, okay. So because of my rank at the time, I was an E8. You can only have one E8 in one air traffic control facility anywhere in the world, because the E8 is the senior controller, and it's the person that is a senior enlisted of the facility. You can't have 2.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like you don't have 2 commanding officers, right?
Right.
It's the same type of thing. So a guy who got promoted to E7 after I was already an E8. I'm sorry, he was an E7, got promoted to E8 after I was already an E8. He had just got back from overseas. And since I had come back earlier than he had come back, it was my turn to go.
Your rotation to go out. Okay.
So despite the fact that I just got back from Iraq 18 months before, was about to retire and started a business so that I could focus on that, I got orders overseas. So anyway, I went back to the Far East and had to turn that business off, unfortunately. But came back, started it up again in Silicon Valley, and that was pretty good.
So what? So is it like starting is brand new then? Because it's a totally different market. I mean, it's a new state.
How you know? I mean, it all goes back to who are your clients.
Brand spanking new for me. Because the system changed while I was gone. I was only gone for a year. I came back and the entire REO system had changed.
And plus, you didn't have those same relationships built that you had built in South Carolina.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell you what, South Carolina, the best relationship I had was I had somehow linked up with Regions Bank. And they were a small bank that was just in the Southeast at the time. And they didn't even have a middleman. Most of the stuff I was getting was through asset managers that banks go to liquidate properties. But I got in with Regions Bank directly, and boy, they were feeding me all kinds of stuff.
I wonder back then how many licensed agents there may have been in any given state. But like, do you know how many licensed agents there were in South Carolina?
Or is it more now or less?
Oh God, there's so many now.
I mean, but in comparison to back then, are there more now?
I don't think.
You don't think so, Dave?
I don't think there's probably more. I don't know. I don't have the numbers. I'm just anecdotally guessing here, but I don't think there are. I think you have a lot of agents that enter the job and leave the job every year. I think there's a whole lot of people with licenses that don't use them, to be honest with you.
I don't know what our number here in Kansas City is this year, but so I started about it was August 2017 is when I got licensed. So I've only been in, 5 going on 6 years, and when I started, there were, I think, around 10,000 agents licensed in Kansas City.
I can't even wrap my head around that number.
Within a year, there were almost 16,000. Within a year of when I started. And
that's a lot.
To David's point, tons of agents go out within their first year or two because they don't think about truly what they're getting into,
right?
Whether that's they don't handle the contracts well, or they don't like working for a broker, or they just don't find the right niche, or most often they don't think about the fact that they have to deal with people and their emotions and be a counselor and all of that, and just hold all of that all the time. I feel like that's what drives people away. But that number almost like. I mean, that was just a huge jump from 10 to 16,000 in 1 year, the first year that I was in.
Right.
And then it dropped back down to around like 13. And I think it's just kind of been in between those numbers since then. But you think about that many agents like going after, these relationships with these banks. And it's like, God, how do you be that one that they
So
that one guy was the one. He was the only one. I found out he was the only one in the whole county that had any foreclosures. He was the only option that those banks had. They had no one else to go to or request.
Wow.
So once I showed up, And by the way, that guy wasn't doing it very well
Well,
either.
I
He
was going to
wasn't
say
per-
he doesn't sound very ethical. So they
he
found
wasn't
you,
he
and
wasn't
you're
yeah,
doing it
he
with
wasn't giving them
class.
reports. He wasn't very aggressive about doing stuff. His stuff was sitting on the market for months. I got in there. I gave him reports. I gave him good BPOs. I gave him good pictures. I gave him good values, and then I got it on the market and I sold the damn thing in a month and a half. And because I used the right words,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I used the words, accurate words.
Right.
Go figure.
So
But yeah,
when you come back from overseas, so you went to the Silicon Valley area. You were deployed there. Is that where you returned to, or is that home? You
that's right.
said you had.
I returned to that's my house. My mother lives in that
Okay, so
area.
that's what you would consider like a home base, more or less, at that time.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
you return there and you jump into the market in Silicon Valley as soon as you return.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so let's see, what did you say? 18 months later, a year later
Mm-hmm.
from leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still in the throes of foreclosures. Is that correct at that time,
Yeah.
or was it
There was
waning at that point?
there was a few. I did a few. Yeah, I did a few interesting ones actually. But I actually was running into a lot more short sales by then.
Okay,
Mm. Do you know what a short sale
And
is, Rodney?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, did we? So that
You were
took
looking at me like,
Well, no, is
"What?"
that what took the place of foreclosures then? Then it kind of transitioned instead of going full
I
on foreclosure, it transitioned into the short sale.
I think it was more of a function of the location.
Okay.
It was Silicon Valley between San Francisco and San Jose. In that space, um, you're going to have a much lower volume of foreclosures because the homes are going to be very high value. There's a high demand for homes. There's a very low unemployment rate in that specific space. It's so much different than right across the bay between Oakland and San Jose. It's the same distance, but the space is completely different.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're going to see tons of foreclosures between San Jose and Oakland, and way fewer, because you got a much wealthier base of people living on the peninsula there. So
Okay.
it was just a different environment, completely different from South Carolina, completely.
So how was that jumping into that market where it's a different, because I assume you felt fairly comfortable once you had to leave South Carolina. So coming back to a totally different foreclosure setting that's in Silicon Valley, how was that for you?
I started out, I was writing my book and I was trying to get back into the foreclosure thing initially. But the foreclosure thing, just wasn't kind of happening as fast as it did the first time. And I started to realize this because they weren't really there where I was.
Right.
They were across the bay and I just didn't want to, I wasn't going over there. That's not where I worked. So I just kind of ended up kind of shifting back into normal sales, and
Right.
I ended up helping people with short sales and helping people buy and sell stuff.
Okay. So, but you had to go through a licensing process through the state of
Yep.
California. Okay. So every state's
Yep.
different. Okay. So
Yep.
how long were you in California doing that? And what kind of was the catalyst to get you to the Seattle Tacoma area?
From 2010 in May till July of 2013. And what got us to move was I was in my second marriage. I had two children with that second wife. And at that time, she was going through some stuff. And she just needed to get out of there.
Okay.
The location was not working for her mental health. Is I guess the easiest way I could put it.
Right.
And so we came up here to Washington only because we like, well, we can go anywhere. Where do we want to go? And since I'm a retiree, we decided we want to go somewhere where there's military base close by, so that we can access that.
The
And
benefits.
we want to go somewhere that doesn't suck.
Right.
So I flew through Seattle a couple of times on my way overseas and noted how green and amazing it looked, the natural wonders around, and I always wanted to come up here. So I proposed that, and my ex was like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's go." So we packed up our house and we moved to Seattle
What
in
year was
August
that?
of 2013.
Okay.
2013. Okay.
13.
Yeah.
So was that nerve wracking going into? I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I'm trying to even remember. I mean, St. Pete. Last time I That's well before I met Bobby 30 years. I was just trying to think about going into a city that I didn't have any roots with, like no family really attachment. Like you said, you'd flown through there and gone, oh, it looks like a really beautiful place.
Yep.
So how was that when you got there? Was there any intrepidation? Did you do all your research just to make sure you had made the right decision? And as you were anticipating that move, did you have going back to real estate in mind? I know there are a lot of questions there. You may proceed.
Yes, I did. Definitely had real estate back in my mind,
Okay.
but I had to take care of my family first. So I was kind of focusing on that. The move, as far as the move, I think in hindsight, I've learned a lot of things. As time goes on and we go through our life, we learn stuff. And I believe that
Not
my
everybody
ex-wife,
does, but I'm glad that you're one that did.
I believe that my ex-wife was that she was in the Marines for a couple of years herself, and she was with me after that, moving around, and we tended to move around about every 3 years. When I went overseas that last time, I ended up moving her to California with the kids. And I went overseas by myself, so she was in California already for a year while I was gone. Then I came back and retired into the same house she had been living in, and we stayed there for another 3 years. So I think what was happening with the whole reason we had to go was itchy feet.
Right.
I noticed
The
that after
cycle.
2 or 3 years in a place, I start freaking getting itchy, and there's a reason. It's because for 20 years, that's what I did. I
Right.
moved every 3 years. So uh,
It was just
I
normal. It was
think
like muscle memory to you to move.
I think on her part, she needed to get out of there. And I think as far as when I got up here, as far as the fear and the anxiety inducing, I'm sure there's people that would listen to that and go, "Oh my God, I can never do that." I had no fear, and it didn't bother me in the slightest because I had been doing that for 20 years, and I knew I have income. I have passive income in the form of a retirement from the military
Right.
that is gonna make sure I have food. My kids are always going to have a roof and clothes and food. It was not a problem. I
Right.
could literally work anywhere. I have to work somewhere, but I could literally work anywhere.
Right.
And it answers the mail
It's
more than answers the mail.
it
So
sounds like your highly motivated, high energy personality though
yeah,
helped
I'm
you
definitely
because
different.
I don't
I'm part of the
think
5% that does
well,
not need exterior motivation.
yeah, I'm like, I think even anybody who gets into real estate, like if you're going to get into real estate, you better choose to do it at a time in your life where you're like extremely motivated, extremely high energy, extremely high passion, because that takes that to keep you in it, to get you over that hump in it, let alone you've moved all these times and now you're moving for your family, but you're thinking of, gosh, I'm just imagining that you start getting this business going again, and it takes some balls as a real estate agent because I'm born and raised Kansas City. I'm ready to maybe see another area, live somewhere else. 36 years, and I'm kind of like, and I travel more these days, so everywhere looks awesome to me. And I'm like, but I got to start over with people, like
Yeah,
you have
at
to build that
0.
from scratch wherever you move to. So for you to just be able to jump and do that, like I don't think anyone could do that, and just being confident that they know that they could rebuild it. So
There we
claps to
go.
him
Yep.
because that's some balls and that's some energy
Yeah.
right there.
So you
Yeah,
get. Oh, I'm sorry.
I did get one strange comment from my father. He was surprised. Uh, he
About your move, or
Yes. Oh,
okay.
yes. I told him ahead of time. It was funny because I told him weeks ahead of time. We made the decision in beginning of July, and maybe the end of June. Weeks ahead of time. And then I moved on August 4th or August 3rd. I moved out, and and on the way driving up there in a truck with all my stuff in the back of the truck, he happened to call me, and I answered the phone, and I told him. He's like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm driving through Oregon." He's like, "What? What are you doing?" And he acted surprised. He's like,
Really?
"I'm moving to Washington. What the fuck are you talking about? I told you
Right.
6 weeks ago." He's like, "What? You were serious?" I said, "What the fuck?
Right.
Has anything ever come out of my mouth that didn't sound serious to you? Give me a break." So I was I was shocked that he was surprised. I'm like, "I told you, dude." But that's an Air Force guy for you.
Yeah. Wow.
I bust his balls about the Air Force all the time. I tell you what, I've learned a lot about Air Force guys since I've been near McCord Air Base too. Very
And
different.
they are. So, okay, here's my, so I was going to go into the military. I'm going to give my military background. So, I decided I was going to go in the military, and this is how naive I was. I just wanted to go in the Navy because I grew up around the water. I love the water. I wanted to be on a ship. That's where my mind was. But I wanted to be in intelligence. So my ASVAB, I scored like in the 98th percentile, and they go, well, every branch you have to be in for X amount of years before you can go to intelligence, except the Air Force.
Huh.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go into the Air Force. So I actually went to get sworn in here in Kansas City. And here, this is the genius part of me. I got sat in a room with the dumbest bunch of motherfuckers. I actually got up and walked out and said, the military's not, just by those, like, I don't know how many there were in the room with me. It was like a handful, maybe 10, but they were so stupid and everything they were talking. I was like, nope, can't do it. And I walked out in the military. They were trying to say that I was AWOL at that point. I was like, well, I hadn't been sworn in yet. They kept my diploma. They kept a whole bunch of stuff. So that was my military background. But it was just, I mentioned that because you had mentioned Air Force. Sounds like your dad was in the Air Force, and that's
Yes.
where I
Yeah,
would
him
have
and his
been if
brother.
I could suffer fools
if you
better.
weren't such a drama queen.
I am a drama queen.
That's a pretty funny story.
I mean, and it's
I
probably
didn't know,
good.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah,
yet.
I just didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And knowing me, I probably do not do well with people yelling at me and telling me what to do when I know I'm dramatically brighter than they are. And I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
everyone, but like if someone, I'm like, oh, no.
So I can feel your pain, and I can actually extrapolate a little bit for you
Okay.
because I was in a similar situation. I maxed out that test. I got the 99 on
Uh-huh.
it, and I actually enlisted to be an infantry person. I demanded that. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be infantry, and of course, every person I said that to looked at me like I was an idiot. And it finally got to MEPS, or no, I'm sorry. I got all the way to boot camp on the infantry contract.
Uh-huh.
And they do something when you get there called special screening, which is more tests.
Right.
Like there wasn't enough tests in MEPS. But no, they freaking hit you for days. I mean, days with more tests. Anyway, I ended up doing well on all these tests. And they came back and said, listen, you dumb motherfucker, you can do any job in the Marine Corps. Anyone.
Right.
Just fucking pick something else.
Other than infantry. So did you
So-
listen to them or no?
Yes, I listened to them, and
Okay.
I got conned into freaking doing some intelligence radio stuff, and then so basically I was with infantry on my first enlistment. I was doing radio stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I was still
Was
a
that the
ground
field
pounder.
radio? Something like that?
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah.
what
I
is a
was-
field radio? I don't know. So I know that was on your bio that I had read, but what is field? Is that the guy that I think of on MASH that has the little walkie-talkie and he's like, we need an airstrike here immediately.
Yeah, pretty well. No, would be probably a forward observer, but
Oh, okay.
no. So the little green army men you played with when you was a kid.
Yes.
So there was one of them that had an antenna on his back.
Yes, I know him.
That
I
was me.
hated him.
That was me.
Okay. I did.
In
I
fact-
didn't. So I didn't hate
He doesn't
him.
hate you,
I
David.
did. I
He
hated.
just
So
hates that
so
childhood
whatever
memory of
part
that
of
guy.
me, me being on some sort of spectrum, his fucking antenna would always bend or curl because you'd put him like, you put him in a bag and he'd get bent. And for some reason that always drove me nuts. So then I'd cut his fucking antenna off and then it didn't look right. Because I knew in the real world, he couldn't go with that on an antenna. But in my fake world, I couldn't have a guy with a bent antenna.
You know what? We had two different kinds of radios, the VHF radios. We would bend the antenna down like that on purpose so that it wouldn't run into shit. It was a tape antenna that was very much like a tape measure.
Well,
like an aluminum tape
6-year-old
measure.
Roro could have used that information. Thanks a lot,
Yep.
David.
Just needed tape, buddy.
Yeah, well,
Yep,
dang
tape
it.
antenna.
Okay.
But anyway, when I got to that first unit, they, I checked into the operations office, and it was my first experience in the fleet, and there was a warrant officer in there, and I've got a lot of experiences and stories about this warrant officer later, but this guy, he goes, he goes, "What's your name?" And I told him my name, and he goes, "In your MOS?" I said, "I'm field radio operator." He said, "Oh, fuck, you're a tracer magnet."
What is that?
So, well, you're in when combat happens, they have life expectancies for all of the roles in a platoon in the
And
Marines.
field radio operator is short.
Is right around 1 second. It's the first guy to get shot, and the second guy
Oh,
is
no.
typically
The guy going to
typically
pick up the radio.
no, it's
Uh-oh.
usually the lieutenant or somebody with something shiny on their head. They're the next one to get shot, and then the very next person to get shot is the machine gunners. So all of those people, those three roles, they're usually dead within 3.5 seconds when an ambush happens. So,
Oh.
and of course, the first guy, it was the guy with the radio.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why they chuckled at me and called me tracer magnet, bullet magnet.
Obviously, you
Later,
dodged
other
that
things.
bullet, though, because you're with us
Oh.
today.
Yeah.
You deserve that one, Catherine. That was very good. And I'm just glad I hit the right button
clever.
there.
You didn't get it.
I did. So, okay. So the military, you tell your dad you're on your way through Oregon, on your way to Seattle, Seattle, Tacoma. What happens once you get there? So how long before you get back into real estate once you get to the Seattle, Tacoma area?
Oh, I screwed around up here for a couple of years dealing with the end of that second marriage, and actually just kind of worked at a job here and there. Actually, I worked at a couple stupid jobs for like 6 months, and then I ended up doing some property management, which is more along the lines of real estate stuff.
Right.
And I did the property management. It was more like commercial property management. Like I was managing green belts and woods and waterfronts, like
Cool.
waterfront parks and stuff on lakes. So I was actually doing that for like 7 years, from 2014 until 2001 is when I finally quit that. I tried to quit that job a couple of times so I could do full-time real estate, but man, that job just kept sucking me back in.
Right.
But I did a lot of weird stuff just at that job. I was freaking helping loggers, a logger specifically, one logger. He used to give these guys great deals on dropping these huge 120-foot tall trees because I would help him. I was willing to help him, so he didn't have to charge him for a whole team and a whole crew to come in. So he would drop a full tree for $300.
I can't even. I'm trying to think of 120-foot tall trees. That's not what we have here in Kansas City
No.
that I can think of.
Yeah,
Or
We've only seen those in pictures.
Yeah, I mean,
cedar
or
trees.
they're like ash trees, which I don't even think they're that tall. Even our tallest trees, I don't think are that tall, and they're so spread out that they just look like a.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought they were cedars.
Yeah, they're
don't
big
know.
trees here.
Yeah.
But this guy he's 65 or so, and he'd been doing it his whole life. And so I just ran around. It was a couple of years ago. I had, I've gone out with him a couple of times recently because sometimes he still calls me and he goes, "Come on, Dave, I need you to help me with something." I'm like, "Oh
And
man,
is
you're
it
gonna kill me."
fun? Is that why you're doing
It's
this?
great fun. It's great fun. It's
Okay.
it's very, it's one of those stupid things that men do to. So I guess some men like to do that more than others. Like,
Yeah,
the
I
type
would
of person
say-
who would join the military would like doing shit like that.
I would
you know?
totally watch you all do that. That would be fun. But me like actually doing it, because literally putting the gloves on, I would probably injure myself. I'd like jam 2 fingers into one finger hole and it'd be all over for me the rest of the day.
you would want to sit on the side because there's just too many ways to kill yourself messing with trees.
Yeah, I would not want to do that. So you get back into, and I'm going to ask this at the forefront. Is there a specific market in the Seattle Tacoma area that specifically wants a view of Sasquatch?
What about Sasquatch?
Just whether people want to buy houses. Does anyone ever come up and say, "Hey, take me to an area. I want to see houses where there's Sasquatch"? Because that is totally something I would ask about.
So the first
think
question is, do a lot of people believe in it
Yeah,
up where he's at? And
Harry and the
then you
Hendersons,
follow up
he's
with that
real.
Next question.
So I'm going to tell you, I was surprised to find out that a lot of locals do believe in that. And in fact, I know a couple locals who swear that they've seen him.
Is one of the locals you?
No,
Dang
I'm not
it.
a local. I'm a transplant.
Right.
But I would have shat myself if I would have seen him, probably. But I don't know. I've heard things, but
Wait,
I don't
you've
know,
been
it'd
there
just be
since
creepy.
2013 and you don't get to call yourself like anybody that
Oh no,
knows
oh hell
anything?
no. No, no. So there's you know how like so anywhere you go, I can go anywhere in the world and people are generally people, okay? People are very similar. People suffer from all the same shit, greed, selfishness, all those things. But culturally people are different. And like for example, Americans and Japanese are a great difference things I like to point out a lot because culturally they just think so completely effing differently. And it's all comes down to Americans are recent decades anyway are taught that they have rights, got all these rights, and nobody should tell you that you can't have your rights.
Correct.
Whereas the Japanese are taught from the moment they understand words that they have obligations and that they should always step up and meet their obligations.
Right.
It's just a completely opposite way of thinking about society. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So while people are the same in both those countries and people have families and they have the same wants and desires to have a better life and all that stuff, they go about it so completely differently. And that can be manifest in something that happened in California in the 80s. In the 1980s, I was in my teenage years, and I remember maybe it started in the late 70s, I don't know, but a whole lot of Asian people were moving into the area, especially on the peninsula there. And
Right.
there was more and more and more and more Asian drivers, right? California drivers, people who started driving there or had been there a long time, drive at that time were driving fast. I mean, it's was 55 mile an hour speed limit on the highway. People drove 80,
Uh-huh.
and they drove bumper to bumper. And God help you if you are not going 80 in the
Right.
fast lane. You better pull over. And people get the message real fast because people are freaking extremely hostile
Right.
if you were effing up the driving, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of Asian drivers started showing up and they were driving completely differently, slow everywhere. And they were like timid. They're not merging. They're letting people go and
Right.
go and go. And they're not, you know what I mean? They're not aggressively merging into traffic. And just infuriating everyone who has no patience, right? Drive-bys started happening in LA in the 80s with this stuff, with the road rage and all that. So come to find out, years later, I'm in Japan. In order to get a driver's license in Japan, you have to take a class.
Uh-huh.
You have to learn how to drive just the same way the Japanese do, out of the same book with the same information. And come to find out, I was shocked to find out the Japanese drivers from moment one when they start training are taught that they're professional drivers the moment they get their license. As a licensed driver, you're considered a professional, and you are to give way to other traffic and cooperate with the movement of other drivers down the road.
Right.
It's a general attitude of giving way when you're confronted with traffic, and then proceeding so that everybody can move. As opposed to us, that we're taught, fuck you, this is my road,
Right.
and you try to accelerate to close the hole. It's just the exact opposite of what the Asian driver was taught doing coming up. I found that out the hard way. It blew my effing mind. I'm like, it makes so much sense. All these drivers are driving like this. Their culture is like that. It's not just Japan. South Korea, they have a general culture of obligation as opposed to a culture of rights,
Right.
of ownership. They think about shared ownership and obligation. We think about that motherfucker's mine.
Right.
It's just crazy. So that's what we get. Now we're around a bunch of rude people. I don't even know how I got on that subject.
Well, okay, here I don't know how much time we've got, but I keep thinking, when are we gonna get onto this alien stuff?
Wouldn't that be psych? So I had thought about that we may end up just doing all real estate now, and the end I'm just gonna ask him, aliens, yes, no, and then he can just answer. That'll be it. So all the people that have been listening for an hour and 10 minutes, they're not going to give up now. They're going to be like, "Oh, okay, we're sucked into this."
I'm
No,
going to venture to say that this is maybe not the only time that we'll have David on,
No.
because I feel like there's been a couple times where we've referenced something and it's kind of that perfect, like, we need to go back to that at a later
Right.
date. Like, let's get more into that.
yeah, and then
sometime.
then you were like, "No, let's go back to the subject we were talking about." Oh, hold on, I'm going to piss you off. Nope, not by that.
Actually,
Oh no! Oh shit! Oh, you hate it.
so
Oh, I
mad.
got your voice. You don't have it anymore, do you, Catherine?
I don't-
Wee, wee,
I
wee.
don't know if David's listened to any of our
No.
episodes before, or if he's like, "What?" the
So
actual
David,
hell?
to fill you in on this, up until our last podcast together, the soundboard, anyone, even you calling in, if I tripped a sound like that, you would sound like a chipmunk, whatever voice I picked. Well, the latest update made it where only I can do it. And it has gotten so tense here with Catherine. I mean, when I do that voice, I know I feel fear for the first time in my 55 years, because I feel like she's just going to punch me in the face and take my microphone.
Well, the first time we did the voice, we were like a bunch of 5-year-olds who just giggled about it the whole time, because we're like, "Oh
You
my
giggled.
God, it's like, when somebody sucks the helium out of a balloon and you just laugh."
Yeah.
And so we acted like a bunch of kids, and that whole episode was literally just us trying to talk in that voice, but busting out laughing in the middle of it. And then we kind of bring it back in from time to time, and I keep saying, my voice is so monotone, I feel, anyways, that I'm like, I like that voice adds a little bit of personality
Right.
to my voice.
It
So
does
I'm
do that.
very sad that it's gone.
So, but it was funny because I think you had said at the beginning of the show that we had talked briefly about real estate, and we're not. But I do think this is interesting. I do think that my listeners think this is interesting because
Well, David has an incredibly interesting life, and this is all interwoven. Like,
right.
none of it is, I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this. It's like, I did this, and then I kind of had this mixed in, and then I went here, but then I kind of came back to that, and then I had this, and it's really cool.
Well, it's nice that you mentioned
like
that
you've done
because
like everything interesting.
that leads me to my next question. So you've mentioned, we've used I don't know what they call it, cookie crumble, whatever, Easter egg, it's something. We had mentioned earlier that you were writing a book. At this point on your trip to Seattle, had you completed your book at this point?
Oh, my first one, yes, I did that. I think I had wrote that in 2011 or so.
I like how
It
he
took me
says
about
my
6
first
months.
one. Like Catherine and I look at each other
Well,
like,
that honestly,
I'm
that
telling
actually
you, he's
wasn't
the Energizer Bunny
Yeah.
here.
that actually wasn't my first one. There was one I
Oh.
did before that, but it's the first one.
oh,
It's the
that
first
makes
one
it
that's out
better.
now.
Thank you.
So I actually published one.
If you
I kinda
say
kept
you were in single digits, so help me, we're going to have phone problems and lose you. I'm sorry, how old were you when you wrote your first one, David?
No. I was in Iraq, and I
4.
had been taking notes about things that would happen to me.
Uh-huh.
I was just kind of like it was like a diary.
Okay.
I was writing things down. It was one of the hardest deployments I've ever been on.
He was on the hill with his radio waiting to get shot.
I
and
wasn't
happened to write
really
an entire
exposed.
book.
I wasn't really exposed to a whole lot of danger in Iraq
Okay.
compared to most Marines. But I was receiving rockets and mortars. That was about it. Maybe, and there was the danger of sniper fire. But
I like it.
But there was-
that was
but there
about
was-
it. There's some
but I
rockets.
wasn't-
There was a
You know,
sniper in the
nothing-
But I
area,
was-
No big.
but I was but I was on a base though. I was behind lines. There was guys on the fence with guns pointed out so that I could do my job. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So
Right.
while I was receiving rockets and mortars and stuff, well, I wasn't kicking in doors and shooting people. I wasn't doing that. So but yeah, I I saw some things explode close to me
Right.
a couple of times. So, but anyway, the hell was he talking about the
So,
Iraq thing for?
no, I was
Well,
mentioning your
when
book.
you
So,
wrote.
Oh,
how many
yeah,
books have you written? Oh my God.
2. Just
Okay,
those
just
2.
fuck, just 2. It's like when you ask someone. I used to be in golf, and I'd be like, "You ever have a hole in
Okay.
one?" And the dicks would
I'm
be
gonna.
like, "Yeah, 10," and you'd be like,
Okay, I'm gonna screw with. I'm gonna screw. I'm
"Oh
gonna screw
no,
with you now.
oh
Okay.
no."
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Please do it. Ready?
So I only wrote 2, but I actually have 18 titles on Amazon. You can go look at them if you like. Just type in D, my first initial, and my last name, Gowans, and all my titles will pop up. All those other ones, though, they're all like considered medium content books, as in they're not like stuff I wrote like stories or anything. They're just puzzle books. I just made a bunch of puzzle books and
Oh.
published them.
I've still made 0 puzzle books at 55. So,
So
why
if
do you
wanna be
think that's so
technical, I
funny?
published about 18 of them or so. I don't know.
It's just.
hold on, I do have something for that for me. I do know that button. I'm very familiar with that button.
Hey, you've written like 50 notebooks of notes.
Well, I know. So no, I write. So David, I write notes. I wake up in the middle of the night. I'll write page after page, and I always say, and then I save them for some reason because why wouldn't I want to save this to make it easy for the courts? They'll just present it in the courts and be like, "Here's his mind." So yeah, I do write a. Oh, I do want to. I did write a note earlier that I'm going to reference right now for David. I wanted to say that. Hold on, I'm going to even collab for you in advance.
For him. You're
For
not
him.
clapping for yourself?
No,
your
in
note?
advance because very impressed that he corrects himself. He a few times he said like every real estate agent, but then he corrects himself to most or many. And so that's what I was applauding you for in that because I try to do, and Bobby, my wife, tries to keep me in line. If I say all or every,
Yeah.
she will remind me that it is not all or every. It could be many or most. So I just wanted to say that very nice self-awareness, David. Oh, that's probably when I should do the applause.
So let's
Seems
hear
more
about the
appropriate.
first and second published books.
Yes.
Oh, okay. The first one was just kind of garbage. It was, like I said, it was just notes that I was kind of writing down, kind of diary-like notes at the end of my workday while I was deployed, and some of it was fucking just complaining about shit, and some of it was just a lot of weird stuff. Anyway, I published that with an actual publisher, and so I had a contract with them and stuff, and they're gonna have me write another book, and it just. I went back after the whole thing was done and I read it, and it was just like I just said, it was just stupid fucking notes from the end of the day, on very random days. I
Right.
made probably 120 of those maybe, and I'm like, this book is garbage. It disgusted me. I was like, you know what? I'm taking this fucking thing. I had to finish the contract. The contract with them was for, I want to say it was for 4 or 7 years or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And so they still had it in publishing for a number of years, but I didn't renew the contract with them, so it stopped being published and virtually disappeared.
And,
So that
and
first
you
book,
said you wrote after you'd get home from work. And what were you working as at the time?
I was in Iraq, and I was
Oh, okay.
we were
So
just
mostly
operating an
military
airfield.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I
gotcha.
was operating a military airfield at a place called Al Taqatum, which is between Ramadi and Fallujah,
Okay.
sort of.
So when you were writing the notes, were they like your, and because it sounds like I may not be able to get the book, but like were they your feelings from like what you were doing? Were they stuff about like, hey, when I get, I mean, like my notes are so random when I write shit down because I'm usually high as fuck. But like, were yours more focused, or was it really just whatever
Yeah,
was
totally
on your mind?
unfocused. It was whatever was on my mind
Okay.
that day, and it could have been anything. I know there was some complaining in there about. I had a chain of command that just some of my bosses just disgusted me, and there were some things that happened that just absolutely set me off. I nearly got court-martialed at one point because one individual who was an officer did not like my tone
Well, yeah, tone. I mean,
Well, he also didn't like the fact that I worked for a full bird colonel that wasn't in his chain of command, and I had to do things for that guy because we were running a freaking airfield, and he was not part of that.
right.
And it pissed him off, and the short thing was he did not have total control, and because of that, he was trying to hammer me with some bullshit, and that it was amusing because it was extremely stressful for me, that entire dealing with that asshat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because you have
Weeks
no
later,
control over like yeah.
weeks later, he had to stand there and watch somebody pin a medal on my chest, and that was pretty fun.
So is it like were situations like that? I believe that your published book, your second one, was on leadership in the military. Did like these situations play a big impact in that, or had you already written that, or already had the draft for that book ready?
No, I wrote that after I retired
Okay.
completely.
Okay. And how was that? So was it how you treat it, because as the highest officer or the air traffic, the highest ranking controller, enlisted controller, was it how your leadership style was? Was it the leadership styles of others, or was it a compare and contrast, or none of those?
No, not at all. So that second book is called well, it's basically the subtitle of it is How to Succeed in the Marine Corps. That's all it is. The book was written to help people who are joining the Marine Corps, give them something to read to help remove some of the mystery and the unknown stuff. The scary joining the Marine Corps is scary as F.
Right.
Okay, it's scary. It was scary for me, and I had a pretty rough first 20 years. If we compare it to your average person, I was, come to find out, well prepared.
Right.
But I didn't know that at the time. I was terrified. I was expecting to be the smallest person there, and just be flattened daily. That's what I was expecting. It was scary. But I wrote it to provide provide a little bit of take away some of the unknown, provide some information as things to expect and how to handle those things, what attitude to take. For example, something you'll hear from people who have been in the military, if you start talking to them about it a little bit, or they start telling stories, a lot of times you'll hear people, especially people from like the Vietnam era or before that, they'll say, don't ever volunteer. Don't ever fucking volunteer for anything. Keep your hand down, keep your head down, hide,
Right.
just blend in, right? And that's great advice, if you want to go to boot camp and not have things happen to you. Halfway through boot camp, and I followed that advice. I did that for the first half of boot camp.
And how did that work
in the
out
second
for you?
half, it was okay. I mean, I was hanging in there just fine. And then the second half of boot camp, I decided this is fucking boring. I'm breaking this shit open. So I started making a nuisance of myself, basically. And I had drill instructors all over me. It was hilarious. I remember one time I had them, it was in the second phase of this boot camp. We was up there. I was in California. I was in these Paris Island Marines. If they're listening right now, they're probably thinking, oh, he's a Hollywood Marine, because that shit happens too. But I was in California. I was in the second phase. That's the part where they teach you how to shoot on the rifle range, how to go on these long marches and carry all this weight and do all this
Right.
stuff. In gas chamber. That's the best part. Anyway, I was halfway through that, and I decided time to have a good time. So I started disobeying and making them make me do stuff, punish me and stuff. I had them punishing me for 2 hours one time, doing push-ups for 2.5 hours total. And for 2 hours of that, the platoon was cycling in and out with me. So I had about 68 guys. I'm up there doing push-ups, and they'd come up, 10 guys would come up and do push-ups with me for about 10 minutes, and then they'd cycle out, and another set of 10 would come up. They'd do push-ups with me for another 10 minutes. And I just did that shit I just kept going and going and going.
And why were you bringing this self-inflicted?
He got a rebellious hair, man.
Yeah, you do.
Because I was not, I was expecting more, and I wanted to get more out of it. But anyway, what that led to
The
is once I
energy.
got through my schools and got out into the fleet, what that developed into was I stopped doing the hiding thing and the not volunteering. I started volunteering for every fucking thing that was asked. And I don't care if it was cleaning toilets, if it was mopping a goddamn parking lot. Yep, that happened before.
Okay,
It
because
didn't
I
matter
needed
what
you
it
to
was.
clarify that. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it was, or if it was a deployment, a last minute deployment. We need 3 guys. Who wants to go? My hand was the first one up. We need an advanced party for a deployment to Korea. Who wants to go? My hand's the first one up. Because I volunteered for every effing thing, good and bad, I had way more experience than every other guy standing next to me,
Right.
both good and bad. So what happens at the end of a year or 2 years of me doing that, and I'm standing next to 6 other corporals. I'm a corporal and I got 6 of them, other ones standing next to me. I'm the guy who's volunteered for everything and every deployment, and those guys hide at every opportunity. What does that make me? It makes me fucking Superman is what it makes me, because I have all the experience and I have an attitude that I want to be involved in the shit. Let's go.
Right.
My shit's packed. Let's go.
Right.
The fuck we waiting on? Meanwhile, these other assholes are hiding so they can get off work and drink.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
a different attitude. And because of that, I had way more experience. And then those guys get out after a tour. They go use their GI Bill. They drink, don't have a job, or underemployed, use their GI Bill, get a degree, fuck off for 5 years, and then fucking try to figure out what they're going to do with their life.
Right.
Meanwhile, I'm still going.
Right.
So that's why I tell my wife, pisses my wife off when I say this to her. But when we have these arguments sometimes, and if it comes down to it, I'm like, look, I'm doing what I'm going to do. You can have an opinion.
Right.
But I've had more life experience in the first 40 years of my life than you will ever have. And that's just a fact. You're not going to convince me to do what you want me to do.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. You're trying to pound on a brick wall.
So is that in your book too? Don't pound on a brick wall?
Probably.
Okay. So had you finished that book before you got to Seattle?
Oh yeah.
You had finished it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Published.
So you're doing the different jobs in Seattle and you finally get into real estate. What was finally the catalyst that just said, I'm doing this, I'm going back, I'm doing this full time?
Oh, I was doing that management job, and those guys, I was a facilities manager for an HOA. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
It was a huge HOA, the biggest HOA I've ever seen. And they had some big ones in Hilton Head. They had some that had golf courses. But this one, it was a HOA of 1,500 homes, a little less. And they had over 100 acres of property that they owned. And that property, they had to maintain it. And about probably 60% of it was forest. And Northwest forest is what I'm talking about, the 120-foot tall trees. And those trees are right next to homes. And they had some private roads. I think they had 1.7 miles of private roads, several waterfront properties that had facilities like boat launches and docks and all kinds of crap like that.
Yeah, that's a
So
lot.
I was maintaining all this stuff by myself, and running a budget of about $300,000.
And having people yell at you about the budget all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, the constant complaining. And the worst part was, I was the person, of course, who has to tell people no, because everybody wants everything, right? Everybody wants to show up at the waterfront and drink alcohol, despite the fact that we can't have alcohol there. Why can't we have alcohol there? Because we can't insure the property. Your company can't insure the property so that people can use it if we have alcohol here, because it costs like 4 times as much.
Right.
Yeah, and then
So-
everybody questions who you're using for this and that because they think they know somebody better or cheaper. Yeah.
Well, the bottom line is, I'm an employee and I'm not there to argue with them about it, and they don't want to be told no. But again, I'm a brick wall. I'm sorry. If you don't want to be told no, you should go to your house.
I just thought of something I need on my soundboard. I need a bell now so I can ding in. I do have a question now about HOAs.
Yep.
When how many houses have we own? 3, 4, 3? 1, 2, 3. The 3 houses we've owned, we've always stayed away. We would not look in something that had an HOA. Or
It's hard to find anything outside of an HOA in Kansas City now.
Now it
anyways.
is okay. So are HOAs beneficial, detrimental, or does it really depend? There's some good, some bad. And if that's the case, I don't want to talk about them. Or I don't care either way. But what do you find, Catherine?
Me,
yeah.
There's pros and cons. So
Okay.
I don't know that.
David, in your area, are HOAs as prevalent as Catherine says that they are here? Is that something fairly prevalent there?
It's very prevalent. It's not probably that prevalent. It's probably a little over 50% of places are going to have an HOA.
Do you see them as being beneficial to people? I mean, is that something, and I don't even know how they work. Like if there are two neighborhoods next to each other, say very similar whatever. I don't even know. I can't even fake any real estate speak. So, but one has an HOA and one doesn't. Would you be more apt to steer someone towards an HOA, not towards an HOA?
It really depends on their personality. If they're very individualized and and it depends on what they want to do with their property too. Like I want to live on a place where I can have an outside garden and a shed and this and that and like do things with the exterior of their property, then an HOA is usually, in Kansas City at least, pretty limiting to that. But where it benefits is you get, and especially I feel like in the last 5 years where we've had a lot of, 20-some-year-olds buying houses because they think they can afford them with their 2.5% interest rate. They don't know shit about maintaining a home.
Right.
And so you get the lawns that are, a foot of just dandelion weeds, and just deteriorating look. So if you care about, living in a place where people
are held to
maintain their properties or care about it at all, then that's where an HOA, that would be a pro on that person's list that, hey, this is required. But then there's some cons because there's limitations. And what I found in the last HOA I lived in, you end up kind of caring about it. But in our particular one, anytime there were numerous residents that wanted to do some green energy changes, things like that. There were always people with ideas. And anything that ever went to a vote that was a vote of the residents in the neighborhood, not just the board, we figured out at a certain point that, because one, we thought passed, like we thought we had enough to pass. And then when the board came back and basically gave us the full wording of how voting works in the bylaws, is not only did you have to have a certain amount of people who voted say yes or no, a certain number of residents who lived in the neighborhood had to place a vote at all. So if, you have a bunch of people who are out of town, they work jobs, this and that, they don't care. So I think ours was something like if 75% of the homes in the neighborhood, and we had, I think, almost 700 homes in ours. If 75% of those people didn't place a vote, then the vote didn't matter.
So I'm gonna.
That's called having quorum.
So let's see. Let's say
I'm gonna try to sum you up. So you're anti
of the homes voted, and 99% of the people said yes, it wouldn't count because we didn't have 75% of the people who lived there.
I wanted to paint my house whatever
figured out
color.
that it just never probably was worth any time to get anything changed.
I just thought I'd ask. I didn't know that would be your long-winded answer of the day.
Well, I'm just saying that's what I
It was great. It was very informative. I mean, I Dog McGee. I know. I was lying. She always calls me out when I was lying.
I have a
wasn't that
love-hate
impressed by
relationship
the
with HOAs because I'm like, what are things supposed to stay the same for freaking ever?
Yeah.
Like, and most of the board members on ours were like probably 60 plus age, and things had just been this way for so long. There was no progression of anything. So I think it was just frustrating to feel like you cared and it mattered, and then all of a sudden we're like, Oh, it doesn't matter. There's just no way like everyone is going to be paying attention at the same time. Like 700 homes to
Right.
like you we're never going to get 75% of people to even place a vote.
Right. Well, that's how they get you. So, David, in Seattle and Tacoma area, what is the current market like? So, you went back in to full time. What year in Seattle to full time?
Really, 2021, just a
2020.
couple years ago.
Okay, just a
Yeah.
couple years ago. So, how has it been getting back into real estate in that market, and how's that differ from the two previous markets you've been in?
Well, I'm doing it differently this time because I learned things the first two times.
Right.
The first two times I tried to build my business traditionally. Like I said, I sat in a freaking office for 6 months waiting for somebody to walk in.
Right.
That's what new agents do, and call for sale by owners, and you call expired listings, and you see if they still want to sell their house, try to get them to list with you. That's the normal dumb stuff that you do. Chasing business is what it is. It's a chasing business model. When I was working in Silicon Valley, I was working with Coldwell Banker in San Carlos, and I had some really heavy hitting, awesome agents standing next to me that blew my effing mind. And one of them was named Donna Marie Baldwin, and she's actually worked in an office just north, but she kind of took me under her wing and was showing me some stuff. And this woman's over. I don't want to say this out loud. Maybe she's old enough to be my grandmother. Let's just say that, and I'm in my 50s.
Okay.
But she's still at it, and boy, she makes a ton of money. She makes millions every year because.
And is she
she's good at what
just
she
kind of
does.
servicing people that she's
Yeah.
helped in the past and not taking on new
Yeah.
clients, or does she still
How long
take?
has she been in the business?
Oh, 50 years.
Yeah.
But she's still even her, she's still chasing the
Still
business.
hustling.
She
Yeah.
has to chase it. She has to go find people who need her services and convince them that she's the person for. And that's just not. This whole time I've been thinking there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a fucking better way. I can't be chasing you can't scale something that you have to chase. You can't scale a business where you have to be present to do all of the work. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So I needed to figure out something different. So this time I tried to build the business in a way that is kind of out of sight, kind of out of mind initially, and just basically saturating the online virtual world in the area that I'm operating on the down low the first few months, and just starting to do business the normal way as I walk around and encounter people, strike up conversation, get in my car, whatever.
Right.
Just naturally let business take care of itself. But I started with the building thing of the virtual presence, and that virtual presence last year brought me all my business. Brought to me. They contacted me. So all of my business for the last 14 months so far has been just coming to me like that, and that's what I've been trying to build. So
like
so
website,
far it's working
social
great.
media, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, remember, like we were talking earlier about the SEO stuff from
Yep.
10 years ago.
Yep.
That was where I initially learned that stuff, but because I had to go overseas and turn my business off, I had to, turn my business off. And then when I got to California, stuff was happening so fast, I didn't have time to build anything. I had stuff all over the place. But when I come up here, I don't know anybody up here. I have to start all over again for the third time.
Mm-hmm.
Relicense for a third time in a third place, and I know no one. So
I
yeah,
already gave you a big shout out for that.
So
Yeah.
That's
how quick on this?
remarkable.
So how similar are the tests from state to state? Is there any?
very similar.
They
Yeah.
are very similar.
That's what's challenging about them is like the differences are so subtle.
Oh, okay.
Because
That
me
would
getting
be
dual
more.
licensed Kansas and Missouri because half the people
Yeah.
I know are 20 minutes just on the other side of
Right.
the state line, and the other half are
Or on
in
the good
Kansas.
side.
So I get
See what I did there? The good
so
side.
I had to take both tests, and you take them at the same time, and it's like there's only a handful of
Yeah.
things that are just slightly different, and
Okay.
they make the test in a way that
guess
will
that would make it more
make you
difficult.
second guess it and forget, is this the one that
Yep.
was different? Is that the one that was different? And
Yep.
so a lot of people actually fail the Missouri test, a lot of people take the Kansas test first, and the Missouri test, I feel like whoever administrates that is like, they know that's how it works, and they just make it this mind game. So
Okay.
it's true.
And that makes more sense. I mean, because I was thinking that, if they're so different, you're going to have to study more, but it may be those subtle differences where,
they're different enough state to state to where if you don't know the new state regs, you're not going to pass.
right. Okay. That makes sense.
But the great thing about it was, because the first class I went to in down by Hilton Head, I actually went into a class and it was taught by people, and I was able to talk to them and ask them questions and get all my questions answered, and then go on to have a pretty high volume of experience in a short amount of time. That really helped. And it made, when I went to go get licensed the second time, I had that knowledge in my head still. And it turns out most of that knowledge was the same. All I needed was the local knowledge for California and to meet the requirements. So it was actually a lot easier for me to take the tests. Plus, I was doing air traffic control before that for 16 years before I got out. And nobody knows anything about what that job really is. But part of it is taking a shitload of college level exams in the training process, and not just in the training process, but after you get qualified, you got to come back every year and redo that crap. I've never taken so many tests in my life in any other thing that I've ever done that I've taken when being an air traffic controller.
Yeah. And we're going to have you on for that, because again, for that show, because I mean, so the thing about my audience, David, if you're not familiar, there's full of stoners and geniuses. Geniuses love to learn stuff no matter what. So they're going to come. So they've loved this show and they'll come back for the next one. Stoners are just too lazy. They'll get a notification from like Spotify saying our next show's out, and I'm never going to listen to him again. And then it'll come out and they'll just hit play and they'll just listen anyway. So they're not even be concerned that I've been pimping that when I talk to you, I was going to get the lowdown on UFOs and UAPs. But I think that's going to have to be a whole different other show, because I mean, and I love learning about this, and I like looking at Catherine's face while you're talking, because I can see like if there's differences. I'm able to judge like how different what she does here is from what you're doing there, what you've done in the past. Like,
like 2 seconds into the show when he said the first difference about brokers and managing, like my eyebrows go up and I'm like nodding my head like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting that.
I know. Yeah. I got put in your place, huh? Hold on. I have something for that. Yeah.
I got a UFO story for
Okay.
you if you got time. I got plenty of time. I kind of marked off this afternoon to talk to you and clean the floors in my house. So anyway, the quick UFO story was my first, maybe not my first, but it was an encounter I had at the first place. I was qualified to be an air traffic control tower guy. And that was North Carolina, near Camp Lejeune at a place called New River. Right? It's a Marine helicopter base.
Okay.
And it's right there on the river in Jacksonville, North Carolina, or near Jacksonville on the New River. This is the name of the river. So it's about 15 miles inland from the coast, and it's a big old Marine base. Okay. And I was in the tower working there one night. I was a supervisor. So that means in the supervisor role that night. So what that means is I was sitting there at a console with a bunch of communication controls at my fingertips, watching 3 other controllers do the actual controlling, and I was just basically overseeing and making sure everything was happening right. The great thing about air traffic control is, in most towers, especially busy ones, you're going to have that 2 layers of people paying attention.
Right.
So that should make people feel good, knowing that there's at least 2 sets of eyeballs, very, very qualified eyeballs, making sure that things are happening right. So that's a good thing. But anyway, that was what I was doing that night, and suddenly the phone rings, and it was just after dusk. And then I remembered, I answered the phone, and it was a 911 operator. At the beginning of every shift, we do a crash phone test, and one of the people on there is a 911 operator. So they had our phone number. They talk to us all the time. But it's very unusual for me to get a call from them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
typically you would call them, right? Like
yes,
if there's an
beginning of the
impending
shift.
because you would know. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So if it was a crash outside the airfield in civilian land, we would certainly coordinate with 911.
Right.
Anyway, so they call me and they say, "Hey, we've got several reports of a helicopter crashing in the river." And oh Jesus, my freaking stomach drops. I freaking freak out, and I tell everybody, "Okay, we might have something in the river." So we all start communicating with people, trying to figure out if there's a freaking plane missing, if there's one in the river, what the F is going on,
Right.
because that's the worst thing that could possibly happen, right? So we're accounting for all our aircraft. We account for them all, so we know it's not one of our aircraft. So I called this guy back, the 911 operator. I'm like, "Hey, we're all accounted for. There's no aircraft in the river. Can you tell me more about the reports?" So he describes the reports. The first one was a female. Second guy I talked to was a male supervisor, and he's saying, "Yeah, the reports. They're talking about a light in the sky, and in one of the reports, the light was going up." And I remembered, like 30 minutes before it got dark, like during sunset,
Uh-huh.
NASA launched a space shuttle at Cape Canaveral
Okay.
in Florida. It was a clear, beautiful night. And we watched it from North Carolina. We saw it when it got up into the sky, into the atmosphere.
Right.
The sun was reflecting off of the contrail behind the space shuttle. So it looked like a comet that was going up. It was fucking amazing. It was really cool to watch. But I completely forgot about it because it was a launch, you
Right.
know? The call I got was, there's a plane that crashed in the river. So we're trying to find out where this fucking thing crashed, looking all over the place. Come to find out, these people mistook the launch of that space shuttle for a plane crash.
So they
So-
weren't paying attention to or didn't see the direction of it, so they thought it was going down.
Well, yes, that's how it seemed to play out. From my point of view, I was in the tower. We saw it going launch and kind of going up, and then the trajectory changes and it kind of starts flying in a direction. So people could have seen it kind of flying away, and it would have just looked like a ball of fire or something.
Right.
And that's what some of them reported. We
Yeah.
saw a ball of fire coming into the river. Somebody's reported a helicopter flying into the river, and then another person reported a UFO, where somebody was UFO was escaping or flying out of the atmosphere or something. And then we put all this shit together and realized it's the fucking launch. It was the goddamn launch. People are freaking out. It was an unusually clear night.
And
a
I've
beautiful
seen
sunset.
that. I mean, I've seen shuttle launches. Being a Tampa boy, I had seen shuttle launches. You'd see them across the state. So I mean, they would be. I can't even guess the altitude, but you could see them across the state. You could see the contrail. So I could understand that. I was generally remember seeing them during bright daytime. The only time I feel like I personally have ever seen anything is I had a Jeep, and this would have been like, I know it was 1990. The summer of 1990, I'd picked up my cousin and his girlfriend. We're going down to this area called Westport here in Kansas City, the bars, and I had my top off my Jeep. We're driving down a fairly busy, and it's 4 lanes now. I think it was 2 lanes back then. But anyway, all the cars on Antioch Road stopped. They were just stopped. No lights or anything. The people were just stopping in the middle of the road. And I stopped and actually stood up in my Jeep. I put it in park and looked up, and because it looked like there was a comet going across the sky. It was so bright, and we're just watching. I mean, like everyone's just amazed. And then all of a sudden it stopped.
Yeah.
And it hung out for a few seconds, like just there. And then it did all these random moves, like covering great distances, and then like went off the direction that it came. And I
Wow.
was, yeah.
When was that?
So that was 1990. And I remember because of the Jeep I had. And
How much pot were you smoking then?
I did not smoke pot then. So I was actually going to drink,
That
but
sounds more like some mushrooms, maybe.
right. So here's the thing is I didn't even give it a second thought until the very next night. Brian Busby, who was very new he just retired, but he was a new weatherman at the time for Channel 9, said, I was watching the news the following night after that happened, and he said, hey, got a lot of reports last night of a UFO that was seen in the sky. We did some checking, and they said that it was a Russian satellite falling out of space. And I remember verbally saying bullshit, because I was like, stuff that falls out of space doesn't stop, do a whole bunch of things, then go the direction it came from.
Yeah,
And-
that's nuts.
And yeah, and so that's the only thing I've ever seen. I do want to ask you, because we've made hold on, I have a sound for this. There we go. Since we made the transition from real estate into air traffic control, I do have a question because I didn't realize this. I'm trying to think. I don't think I realized this until the early 90s, till Gulf War I, that like here in Kansas City, there is air traffic control. And I always confuse the tower at the international airport here with air traffic control. But air traffic control is actually like 26 miles away from the airport in a suburb of Olathe. And I just remember that like once we went to war and then again after 9/11, they would have, so, you know, it's this nondescript building. There's nothing that's said on it. But then all of a sudden when shit hits the fan, there'd be all these guys with military there with M16s protecting the perimeter. So were you all on the base as an air traffic controller?
Yes. So let me clear
Okay.
some stuff up. So the guys in the tower are indeed air traffic controllers.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The people in the little building that you're talking about that's in some remote location,
Yes.
those are also an air traffic control facility.
Okay.
And it's one of two things. It's either a RAPCON, which is a radar air traffic control facility.
Okay.
With radar, you're looking at scopes, not out of windows.
Okay.
So that radar facility can actually be almost anywhere. It doesn't even have to be on an airport. The tower has to be on the airport in order to do the tower stuff.
Okay.
So the tower and the radar facility are connected. They communicate directly. Any aircraft that takes off from a runway or from the airport on an IFR flight plan is coordinated with that radar facility, and that aircraft isn't allowed to take off until an IFR release is gotten from that radar facility. In other words, the radar guys make sure that the separation exists in the sky so that the aircraft can take off safely. And then the tower gets approval from them to launch the aircraft. Then they clear the aircraft for takeoff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So both of them are air traffic controllers, and both of them come from the same place, the same school. It's just one group of air traffic controllers goes to radar, and the other tend to focus on the tower. Sometimes you'll find some that have done both.
It's like being the radio guy in the military versus the guy in the perimeter with the gun.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's go with that. Good job, Catherine.
They all have their roles.
They do. Yeah. Now, I remember, and it sounds like we're about the same age. I'm 55, but I remember like the early Reagan years, him firing all civilian air traffic controllers. And I just remember it's not like our family traveled or anything. So, but I just remember that being such a big deal. They went on strike and I don't know the whole thing. And I guess here's a question too. I think I had heard at one time, there is a maximum age that you can be to begin your career as an air traffic controller. Do you know, is that true? Or if it's civil?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it was 35 is what I heard.
I believe it's 30.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So
Maybe they may have changed. Last time I looked, it was around 30. And maximum age to start. There's a maximum age to do it. I think I don't remember what that is, and it may be different at different locations. But the bottom line is when you start doing it, you have to maintain a certain level of health. They do like a flight physical on you, like they do pilots.
Right.
To make sure that you don't have any kind of medical conditions that are going to interfere with your ability to think while you're doing your job. You can't take certain medications like Sudafed was one I couldn't take. I had hay fever all the time, but I couldn't take drugs for it because all of the drugs were on the do not take list because they could affect your mental state. So
you make one
for the first 10 years I was a controller, I just sat there and suffered, just blowing my nose every 10 minutes. Got over that.
So air traffic controller has been listed at the top of the list of like most stressful jobs you could ever have, right? Yeah.
That's another thing so is being in the military. So you put those two things together and it's pretty stressful. In fact, those two things, so in the military as an air traffic controller, I actually get a control tower operator certificate from the FAA when I become qualified in the control tower. And it takes typically the first time it takes a couple of years to do that. I got 4 of those over the time I was doing that job.
Is that so?
The
You had
thing is,
mentioned earlier that you had always volunteered for things. What got
yeah.
you volunteered enough in a route, an open door, what have you, to get you into air traffic control? Because you said you spent
Oh,
16 years there, correct?
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah. So, ultimately, they after you do a tour in the Marines, you get a chance to get out, right? When your contract's up, you can just get out, go back home, use your benefits,
Right.
whatever. I re-enlisted. You have that option too. Um, and when you do that first re-enlistment, and it's usually only works on the first one. Sometimes some people have done it on the second or even third in certain circumstances, but almost always this only happens on the first re-enlistment. And they give you an opportunity to move to a different job if you want to, if you're qualified for the other job. Now, I was lucky because I did well on my test. I maxed everything out. So I was qualified for every single job. So it was just a matter of which job that I want to do. And the Intel job, an Intel job was available, and air traffic control was. And I was going to choose between the two. I ended up doing a little bit of OJT in the Intel job for a couple of months, and just to get a feel for it.
Right.
And I'm glad I did that because I decided to do the air traffic control thing.
What was the biggest thing about that on the job training that got you to change?
Well, it started out with me doing a bunch of reports on foreign countries and the political, socioeconomic situation, military situation in the country. And I didn't expect that I would be doing that in a military intelligence job. I was a little caught off guard by that being my first friggin' set of tasks. Here, spend the next 2 weeks writing reports. You produce one a day. Today you got Yugoslavia. Tomorrow you got Hungary. You know, I mean, what?
Right.
So, and I had to have finished reports by the end of the day, and then I had to brief them. So that was an introduction, and I hated that. And then the other part of the job was it was a counter intel job that I was looking at, and it had to do with basically just doing stuff that collecting intelligence, no matter where I was.
I was
I guess I'll just leave
concerned
it
that
at
they
that.
had put you in a room with a whole bunch of stupid people, and you're like, nope, not me. Not doing
Well,
this.
that's another issue. That's a whole nother issue now. See, when you max some tests out, you know, they identify you, and then they know that. They know that that effect is there. Uh, like artillery guys, for example. Now I'm gonna piss a bunch of artillery guys off, but that's an MOS that doesn't require a super high VP score,
Right.
which is a intelligence thing. Uh, when you put a guy, my GT on my first time taking my SFAB was 133, I think, which is roughly equivalent to an IQ score, right?
Right.
That's what I got at MEPS, and that qualified me for anything. So I took it again later, but I found out these artillery guys in like cooks and other certain jobs, their requirement to get in that job is like a 45. You know what I mean? And if you think about it, the average IQ being 100, let's say
Right.
that's what it is for the average person. If you're a kind of a smart person and you're, like you said, sat next to a person who is kind of on the other side, and being forced to work with that person and communicate with them, you're going to have to compromise
Right.
the way you think, or you're going to go crazy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And
So,
that's one thing that we talk about in the society, that part of the International High IQ Society, or we just call it the society on this podcast. But we talk about, because
Fine, David and I have our own society.
I'm sure you do.
yeah.
You can have yours and we'll have ours.
But the thing that they talk about when we reference the military is some people don't like to be, you can't judge someone on their IQ. And it's like, well, the military does. That's why they have a minimum IQ that you have to score. They won't even take you because they deem you too dumb to do any job that they have available. And so,
You're not wrong.
And my thing is, so my IQ, I am barely in the top 2%. I'm at 136. But typically the average is considered around 103, with being, however you want to term it, mental retardation, handicapped, whatever you want to call the threshold is 70. So I always point out that I'm barely a genius, but the difference between me and the average person is the same between an average person and someone that would take the short bus everywhere they went. And no one ever speaks up. And that's when we talk about the military all the time on our forums about how they identify what you need for specific jobs. And even though I wasn't military, there's quite a few military in there. And they always say that in a time of crisis of war, the military would have to separate people for jobs in a quick and efficient manner. And the only way they found to do that is by IQ. And that does get tough.
Well,
So
what they're doing is they're trying to separate people out and set them up for success.
Right.
They understand. The military figured out as part of leadership. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different set of weaknesses and strengths that are natural to them. Regardless of how much training you give them, they're still going to have strengths and weaknesses. So what they try to do is identify those ahead of time, identify the strengths and weaknesses up front, and then play to your strengths, putting you in a job or MOS that you're already have a natural strength in, and then letting you go to that school.
Right.
That's how they try to set people up for success, and that's why they do that. It
This
makes
might
total
be-
sense.
This might be a sensitive question to answer, but I guess where my thoughts are going is like whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. So does it end up that typically anyone with a lower IQ would end up in a higher risk position?
Yes. Cannon fodder is what you're
Like,
asking.
They're more disposable.
Would you agree with that, David? I wasn't military, but I would say yes, that they would be.
Well,
And I'm not
it's
saying that the
widely-
system. I'm not assuming the system is set up that way intentionally, or is that just how it works out? And they're,
That's how it works out.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lower GT to be able to walk
Pull a
into-
trigger. Yeah. Walk
and
forward,
pull a trigger and walk into barbed wire.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact. So yes, the infantry is going to can have guys that are on the lower end of that. Now, having
So
said
you
that,
were like the smartest guy of the infantry guys.
no, I would have been a smart guy. But having said that you can be a dumb guy and go to the infantry, having said that, once you get into start working with infantry people and you start watching people hire, not the first guy who just walked into the unit, who's a private, who's pulling a trigger. That's the first guy. That's step one.
Right.
The guys who are on step 8, 9, 10 in the infantry units, who are leaders, who are squad leaders, platoon sergeants, these guys are orchestrating and planning and putting together and orchestrating and supplying the entire fucking operation. These guys go from doing nothing but pulling a trigger to a couple of steps up. They've got lives. They're responsible for actual lives.
Right.
And the welfare, every bit of the welfare of those people that are underneath them. It is
Well,
such
games
an
of strategy
extraordinary.
aren't easy.
What?
I said
Say again?
games of strategy aren't easy.
Well,
That's a whole nother level. Plus,
yeah.
you got the tactics and stuff that you got to be able to think of. So you go from a processing requirement of not much to having to have your shit together in
Right.
order to function as a leader in the infantry. Some of the smartest MFers I have ever met were platoon sergeants in the infantry, ever. Because to actually do that job, you have to know your effing shit.
Right.
And to a level, it's just unbelievable. So I don't want to disrespect
So I would
that level you just wouldn't believe.
no. I think the
the-
easiest way to say it is the military has found out how to let a fish swim, and what that means is often you can
Exactly,
say, when you would think that a fish is an idiot if you watched it try to climb a tree, just meaning that that's not what they're made for. But if you put it in water, and what the military has done is they've identified what your strength is. You're a fish. We're going to let you do this. We're going to put you in this pond and you're going to be able to do this. You're a squirrel. You can go run and jump. It was funny
It's all
because
based on performance. Yep.
so originally when I think when I wanted to enter the military, when I first went down to the recruiting office, I said I wanted to do like some sort of special forces, special teams. This would have been late 80s, around 1988, 89. And then they found out that I was really colorblind. So they said, you can't do that. And I was like, okay. So, but it's just, they have to do something to just figure out what you're good at, what you're best at. And we talk about it all the time, but I would say that, you know, letting someone thrive. I see it in sports all the time. I mean, even making a sports relationship to some people that, you know, you'll see a guy that's a great college coach and then he'll want to be a professional coach and he goes through and fails and he goes back and be a college coach. There's different dynamics between that. And sometimes you just need to know, I'm good at this. This is what I thrive at, and just let me go and thrive. So,
Yep.
so did you enjoy your time? I mean, I assume you did it for 16 years and you probably had an opportunity to change at some point. Did you enjoy all your time as an air traffic controller?
No, no. I was just getting ready to say that it was difficult because the air traffic control rules and regulations are designed for air traffic control, which is separating aircraft and keeping people safe.
Right.
Has nothing to do or consideration for the military or military operations, and at the same time, the military stuff has no concern or consideration for the air traffic control stuff. So what you have is you got a commanding officer, because you're part of a unit, telling you to do military stuff that is absolutely contrary to the air traffic control regulations that you're trying to follow sometimes, and that puts you in a quandary. You know, you got to say, okay, well, operationally, sorry, we're running an airfield right now, so we're not going to be doing that, sir.
Right.
You're gonna have to do that without us. So that happens sometimes. It's just, and that puts extra stress on stuff.
One of the questions I've always thought of when I fly is, because there is so much space when you get up in air. I mean, you have, it becomes a 3D grid so that you have all this space. So I don't really think that until you get near an airport that planes and things should have much of an issue. Am I correct to assume that? Or so
We generally don't. Yeah, that's exactly right.
The reason I bring that up is my wife and I were on a trip back, I think from Austin once, and all of a sudden it's like slowed down. We were on time, and then once we got in the air for some reason, we were losing time. We were no longer going to make it on time. And so once they land, as we're exiting, the pilot said, if you want to understand why we're late, we're leaving the cockpit door open. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck does that mean? And so we walk out, and all the windows were shattered in there. They had taken bird strikes. And so they just, because they had no visibility or something. So we were like, but I was like, what the? I mean, I'm glad that they have doors and no one saw that shit or anything, because I know it freaked me out once we walked in. So,
it should have. That's a serious emergency that just happened. That what that pilot just did is he landed the plane with almost no visibility. So what that means is he could fly all day long, not being able to see anything out the window.
Right.
But the second, at some point, he has to transition from instrument flight to visual flight, and that means looking out a window and seeing a runway.
Right.
And being able to line your eyeball up with the runway and control the plane down to the center line. If you can't transition to that visual portion of the flight, you can't land. So that dude somehow looked through that shattered bullshit and saved all of you guys.
The glass mid-flight?
The alternative is cartwheels down the runway.
Yeah. That's
either he lands or your plane does cartwheels. That guy.
And you know what? I wish he would have made a bigger deal about it. He probably needed a hug, a slap on the back, a beer bought. I mean, as long as he didn't have his own connecting flight or something. I mean, I couldn't even.
Well, he probably has his own society, and they did that.
You know, now that I think about it, I'm not sure he was wearing his pants that he was wearing onto the plane.
Yeah, he probably changed his shorts before he came out.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even. We just remember, and it was kind of like nonchalantly said, and you don't have much time. Everyone wants to get off the fucking plane, and so we kind of like duck down and we look, and we're like, oh fuck, and we just keep going, but we're like, That's crazy, but we did.
Most people probably didn't even realize what they were seeing until they were 10 steps away from the plane.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy saved everybody on your plane by pulling that off. That's pretty incredible.
My wife is not a good traveler, so I'm gonna make sure she stops
don't let her-
listening to this at 2 hours.
Good
I'll be
thing-
like,
good
I'll be
thing
like,
we're
honey,
two-
it was great, but it
Yeah.
stopped at 2 hours. Like all the
Good thing
interesting
we're 2
stuff.
hours and 15 in. We
Yeah,
have
because
lots of
I do
people by
not
this
want her to
point.
hear that. We have had some. She does not like traveling with me. We have traveled to a place that we arrived and there was a forest fire. We have arrived at the place that hadn't been hit in a direct hurricane in 26 years, but it happened when we were there. We were at a place that never has earthquakes, had a 4.8. I mean, so, and then we've had the shattered windows. And then one time, I think it was also Texas we were coming back from, and they announced that we were like having to go out of the way because I think there was a Monday night football game with the blimp here and it became unattached. It became detached from its thing. It was like just floating around. I don't know how they ever resolved that. I would assume it'd be much like how we resolved the whole Chinese balloon thing this week.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got something for that. There we go.
Which was probably near where some of your properties were that you sold.
I know, that flew right over
David?
Seattle. Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
no, but
Well, that's how most
they downed
things-
it. They downed it in South Carolina beaches.
Well, yeah,
or,
but he's
Yeah.
well. That's the old, and yeah, because it was flying over all the bases. Mm-hmm. Yep. But an air traffic controller would have been the first to see that and said, "Hey, it's a balloon." It's exactly what
Yeah,
they.
that- I'm sure that got recognized pretty early.
Yeah, it was funny though that I don't know. I mean, I don't. I still have to laugh when they're using balloon technology. I mean, I'm just sorry. It's 2023 now. I feel like there has
They
like
said the thing was like 200 feet
I don't
in
care.
diameter.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's
It's still a
effective.
balloon.
I know
It's
it is. I'm
effective.
just saying.
But
That's,
couldn't you make a little drone and just fly it around? I don't know. It just seems like balloon. I mean, that would be. I don't
The
know.
thing about balloons is they can loiter. They can go up in the air and they can sit there. They can sit there forever because they're hot air. There's no engine keeping it aloft as opposed to a drone.
Yeah.
So they actually have those balloons. The company that makes those specific balloons, that's what that balloon is designed for. They actually are designed to be used as a constellation, a communication constellation. You send 5 or 6 of them up in the air when the enemy takes out all your satellites. All your communication satellites suddenly gone. You put 5 of them balloons up in the air around a state. Suddenly you've got new satellites that are at 60,000
Well, now
feet,
you've made
and
it
now you can
sound
communicate.
logical, and I liked it better when I thought it was a stupid
so
idea.
you're saying that China did this so that they had backups in place?
No. I'm saying that was the original purpose of these balloons.
It just
is-
seems like it would be
Oh.
hard to control a balloon.
You can do whatever you want with a balloon. Yeah, it is hard to control them, but these balloons are designed to be able to loiter. That means that there's some steering capability.
Dang it! I
will
liked it
allow them
better
to
when I
stay
was
where they
just
are.
upset about the balloon technology because I just really feel like in 2023 that
I mean, it looked like a 200-foot large Chinese lantern.
So check it out. You've seen a windsurfer, right?
yeah.
So you know how people use them. It's like just a sail. You just lean back on it, and you kind of
Right.
you got one piece of cloth that kind of hangs off the back of where the center of gravity is for the vehicle, right?
Which sounds
And that-
exactly
that-
like my bathing suit.
And that's exactly what that balloon. That's exactly what that balloon had on it. It had a little rudder off the back, and that's enough to, as it's moving along through the jet stream, to use that movement to navigate. So that's what they do. They successfully design balloons that can loiter, and that wasn't Chinese designs. I'm not sure if that was a Chinese company that made the balloons, or if it might even be a U.S. company or a European company. I forget the name of the company, but it was an actual industrially produced balloon that was
So have
designed
they
to do these things.
is there anything out there that's saying like what we think? I mean, they just wanted extra eyes, or were they looking at something specific, or what?
I wanted it to be the kid from Colorado.
I think a lot of
Why
people.
now.
I think a lot of people speculate, and that's all that's out there is speculation. Nobody
yeah.
knows except for the people that got it.
right.
You know what I mean? Or looking at it.
I wanted to call bullshit when I first heard it because
There's probably been some UFO calls on that.
I remember the family in Colorado said that their kid got in a balloon or something and floated away like and it was a big hoax. God, I hate doing this, David. Sometimes I look at Catherine and I'm explaining what should be a very well-known event. And
my face just goes straight
I can
to,
tell
what
by
the
her
fuck
face
are you
that it
talking
was well before, like she was like 7 when it happened.
You are seasoned in pop culture, sir.
Yeah.
And she's catching up to you. That's all.
No, yeah.
Well, no, but sometimes the face is just like, why?
Okay,
Why are we going to this?
So there was a family who said that they had like a big balloon, like what, not as big as this Chinese balloon. I didn't see it, but you're saying it's 200 feet. I'm going to not call you a liar, so let's go with 200 feet. It wasn't that big, but they said their kid got in the balloon or something, and it floated away. So they like were tracking the balloon and all this, and then they found out it was just a hoax because
that was a little smaller Mylar balloon. I think it was 6 or 8 feet across or something like that, and there was supposedly space inside, and this kid was supposedly inside of it, floating away as there's helium inside this balloon. Which I was having a hard time with that, wrapping my mind around that. Wait a minute, you're telling me there's helium in this balloon and there's a kid in there. Okay, that kid's either dead or he's not in the balloon, because I've nearly passed out from taking too many hits off a helium balloon before. You take more than 2 hits off a helium balloon, you may not stay awake.
You'd
sound like this. You'd be like, "Oh shit, motherfuckers! I hit that balloon one too many times."
I knew that's where this was going.
I don't feel so.
The perfect opportunity.
Yeah, it was great. I wish you guys could join me because this voice is so fun. But here you are, just looking at me with envy.
Here I am, just pissed off again that I can't do it.
Yeah, well,
I'm joining you, just not with helium.
Yeah, I know. So that's so much fun.
I wonder what David's voice would sound like as the chipmunk.
I know. We will find out because I have sent an email. And in my only thought is because this company has not responded immediately, that they may not have been as aware of this issue, or they're just now hearing about it. Like not just for me, but other people.
Or maybe our chipmunk issue isn't, at the top of the list of,
no, I think
problems.
I think they would have said, "Hey, you're idiot. Do this, do that, boop," and it would have worked or not worked, or "Hey, we updated." I don't understand, but anyway. Anywho, anyhow, anyway.
Anyway.
Okay, so I guess I should ask this for someone who has 2 books they've written and 18 that you can see out there somewhere on the internet. Do you have another book planned, David? And if so, what are you looking at that topic being?
Well, I have one that I've set aside that I may write one day, just about all of the stuff that I've kind of experienced in my life. But I was thinking about writing it sort of in a fictional sort of a storyline, just basically taking all of the crazy ass experiences and putting them in one life in a fictional story, so that I don't have to blaspheme anybody or say any, out anybody or make fun of anybody, because I've seen some funny shit. You know what I mean? And some of them people probably don't want them stories
to be
attached
shared
to them,
right?
So I might do it like that. I was thinking about, in fact, the last thought I had was writing it kind of in a first person, almost in an autobiography, and calling it like something like "Fucked the Story of My Life," and just kind of taking all of the dumb shit I've seen people do and putting it into one person doing it. You know what I mean? Kind of like a Forrest Gump thing, but reverse, where Forrest Gump accomplished all this amazing shit. This other person just fucked up every goddamn thing, and all this fucked up shit keeps happening to him.
I think I run into that character every day.
Until you brought that up again, I've kind of regarded you as a pretty accomplished person myself through everything we've talked about.
Until he brought that up? Wow.
Hold
on.
No, I mean until he came back around to saying that about himself. I'm saying my viewpoint is different than what he just said.
Right.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Seems like you've done a lot. That
I've seen a lot of stuff, but I've watched a lot of other people while I was doing all that stuff next to me do some crazy stuff, because young people do crazy stuff.
They do. Yeah, we talk about that on this show quite often. I believe it's stupidity, which is one thing. And that's one thing that really gets me irked right now. That some reason, like there has been a thing, and I've seen articles about it, and I know I'm going way off what we've been talking about on Instagram, where like people, and I think it's mostly females, are like showing like some of their pubic region hair, like at the top.
What?
Yeah, like pulling their shorts down or whatever to show. First of all, not the 1970s. No one wants to see that you're big hairy bush. Secondly, how's that get done? But if I use the word dumb or stupid, because we do a lot of shows where we reference dumb or stupid, it will block that post. I can't even hashtag the word dumb or stupid in a post, but someone can do that picture. Don't even get me started.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I am all on board with the stupid people.
I guess one's self-expression and the other one is
Slander?
just judgmental, I guess, and
that first one that should not be.
Oh,
that
you know what?
Yeah, it should be.
It's hate speech.
They may look at it as
bro.
like hate
It's
speech or something, or
Yeah.
you know.
That's,
You know what?
It's a very touchy, sensitive world we live in right now.
No.
Plus the entitlement and
We talk about that as well. Now, I will say that when people
we suffer enough as Americans. We shouldn't have to deal with people calling us stupid.
no, I mean my thing with entitlement is
hear
I
some
will
of the shit I was called.
I will complain about entitlement, and I don't think people should be entitled. That being said, I sure as shit use my entitlement, as everyone does, and you should. If you can use it, use it. Do I think you should have it? No, but if it's going to benefit you, go ahead. I'm okay with that. Like some people will be loud, and some people will be this, that, and the other, and I'm okay with that. So, but because I will use I've said it forever. So I literally live now, like what, 2.5 miles from where weed is recreationally available, and I've always
As of like a week ago.
yeah. But I've always said, they're like, what if you get busted? Like in Kansas, I'm like, I'm white. And I'm not kidding about that. I mean, it's not a bit. I mean, but it is. I mean, I think that they would literally just say you should put that out. Is that great? No, but I'm not gonna not smoke weed because of that. Go, oh well, I don't think I'm good. I mean, so yeah, entitlement. I'm against entitlement, but I do use it. So I am a hypocrite, and I'm fine with that.
I use my entitlement to, and I try to do so in a manner that's safe and hopefully not inflicting myself on anyone else. I try to be mindful of that. But yeah, I don't know. I got some thoughts. In fact, I got some pretty outrageous thoughts about just citizenship. I mean, like, for example, there's some people in my life who have never. Some of them never held a job. I mean, I know some people who, well, let's put it this way. We are all, when we're Americans, we're born, we're handed our rights. We're handed our citizenship, right?
Yes.
It's free. It's handed to us. We didn't do a damn thing to earn it.
Right.
And then we're taught about our rights from then on.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, about 1% of Americans join the military voluntarily, not drafted, and they go and they serve for a period of time, and then they get out. In my view, those people have actually earned their citizenship. That's just what I believe. I believe that people that have not done that have not earned their citizenship. And that's going to piss off a lot of people that have got advanced degrees.
Yeah.
But, other people serve different ways. Not everybody is even qualified to serve in the military. Some people serve in other areas.
Trust me, I've seen people that should be nowhere near a gun.
Yeah.
Or anything else for that matter.
Yeah. But the bottom line is a very small percentage of Americans are thinking about a bigger picture than themselves.
Right.
A very small percentage of Americans are serving because they have a servant's heart. You know what I mean?
Right.
Most of them are in the service industry and they can't wait to get the fuck out of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because people are terrible. The general public, especially if you got to deal with the general public, is a nightmare because people are fucking rude. And I get that. But I just, I have a hard time with people who were handed their rights, who have been living their life in entitlement. Uh, God help them if they come to me and try to tell me that I cannot exercise mine
Right.
because I fucking earned mine. And nobody is going to tell me I can't exercise my rights.
Right.
So that's one thing that, boy, I get my fucking blood pressure up. But yeah, I know people in my life who fit that description.
Yeah. And
Not close family or anything. I'm just saying.
you know, it's funny how many people are so entitled. So I used to have my federal firearms license, so I could buy and sell trade guns. And
Oh.
then once I decided to become a stoner, although this just changed this week, when we were prevented from owning firearms, if you wanted
Yeah.
to answer the 4473 correctly, which I think was just overturned this week, where we're now going to be able to safely own again. But I would always, you know, you'd see people that were big Second Amendment people. And I love guns. I just think that they should be background checked. I think that there should be some things going on because everyone that I know that's a responsible gun owner is just like me. So if I see someone that was really gun-ho that wore like, you know, a pro Second Amendment t-shirt, I would always just break them because, you know, they feel so patriotic. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I love your t-shirt. I'm like, I'm sorry, can you tell me what the Third Amendment is again?
Yeah.
And, oh, I got something for that. No, they're my crickets. Dang it, hit the wrong button. But yeah, it's funny because you'll stump them, and it's like, wow, you got the two. You are so pro-Constitution that you made it all the way to the Second Amendment. Congratulations.
Yep.
So, and like I say, I'm a big, you know, our daughters, my wife grew up near Wichita, Kansas. She grew up in a hunting family. Our daughters went through gun safety very early on. They're both proficient shots. So, you know, I'm very pro-gun. I'm just, sometimes people, like you say, are entitled and they think that they can just do whatever. And that's not always the case. So, but
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm kind of both ways on the Second Amendment stuff. But the thing is, the argument I always use with folks that want to pull the Second Amendment right to carry any cannon they like,
right.
is that, listen, and because they always throw this out, it always comes to if an 18-year-old can serve in the military and carry a gun, then we should be able to have any gun we want.
Right.
Okay, here's the problem with that logic. When you're in the military, whether you're 18 or it doesn't matter what your fucking age is, if you're carrying a gun, somebody above you is watching you.
Right.
Somebody is supervising what you're doing. And if you're in the lower ranks, I guarantee you there's an E7 whose head is I think about Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in what was Full Metal Jacket. There's one of those running around screaming at dudes with firearms, telling them what to shoot at. God help you if you mishandle that firearm. I guarantee you it's going to get shoved up your ass and maybe lit off. So there is extremely close and direct supervision for every person who is armed in the military at all times until those weapons go back in the armory. That's what it's really like. They don't, the people that are saying, well, if an 18-year-old can serve in the military and carry a gun, then anybody can.
Right.
The people who are saying that are either don't know that 18-year-old is being scrutinized by 6 people above him and getting his ass kicked routinely about weapon safety, about handling, about just every fucking thing. They don't even give you rounds.
Right.
Until you're ready to go into a place where you're ready to pull some triggers.
And if those people,
you don't even get to carry rounds.
If those people had military experience, they would have known that already and not made a statement. So, you know, and that's one of the things
it's a bullshit statement.
Right. And that's one of the things that, you know, I'll listen to the statements that people make because they'll go, well, how did you know this? And I'm like, because I listened to their statements. You know, like my wife always, when we watch Jeopardy, she'll be like, how did you know that bridge was there? I'm like, well, I don't fucking know that bridge, but I know this. I know what the capital of that country is. And they're like, so-and-so's bridge and this. I've never heard of that bridge. It's a fucking bridge. Why would I have heard of a bridge in another country? But it's, you have to listen.
You have enough information to defer.
Right. And that's what it's about. So, no, I can't wait. I thought you were passionate about real estate. today, but I think that next time I have found our passion button together. Hold on, that did not sound good at all. I'm glad
not sure
that
I swing that. So first of all, I'm married. Okay.
Okay. So yeah. The old hold on.
You don't know. You don't want to know what his favorite bar in Kansas City
Hold on.
is,
I do have
David.
I think I do have a passion button. Hold on. See there? No, it's not a passion button. Well, you're just upset. It is my favorite bar, and you're just upset because you think that it's just a swingers club.
It is.
And just because my wife and I ask you to go with us every single weekend, you seem to read something into that. Well, the joke's on you.
What happens every time you ask me to go?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. So I was actually thinking every time we ask you to go, it's more like this.
So, David, when you and Ro become BFFs, because that seems to be the avenue that we're headed, and then you come to Kansas City to visit, if he tells you to go, I'll wait to say the name, but if this is developing, I'll make sure you know the place
It's Touche's.
to decline.
My wife and I went there. This was a conversation from last week at Touche's.
I've been to Hawaii. Which island? I kind of like a poker. You like a licky dick? I'm a kind of kinky.
You're
You know,
welcome.
you can always tell the name of a bar that you stay away from. You know what I mean?
So well,
the
the
brass
funny
rail.
thing is, I think they just kind of like French it up. It's called Touche's, but it's also touches. Okay, so we're not kidding. Yeah, we're not kidding anyone here. My wife and I went, and since you brought it up, I'm gonna have to address the story. We wanted a place we could dance. We didn't want to drive 40 minutes downtown, so we found a place 5 minutes away. Once we had paid the cover charge and we went in, we found we had mistakenly gone into a swingers club.
Oh.
But then
Yes.
you kept fucking going there
Well,
instead
once
of
you-
realizing that
so-
you could
so-
pay for an Uber to go just a little further down the
See,
street.
this is the kind of stuff my wife asks me whenever I tell her a story about Thailand. Did you stay in that bar?
Well, it's so first of all, we were like, well, we've already paid the cover, and so yeah, we're gonna stay at this point. But the thing is, it's fun, it's close. It is great for people watching. I mean, this past weekend, we got to see someone dragged out by security. They couldn't even stand, but man, they were happy as shit. They were so happy they were being dragged out of Touche's. I mean, and that is a story. If you get, it's like, I don't know what in Seattle, Tacoma area would be equivalent to this, but here in like Kansas City, it'd be like saying, I went to Power and Light and they dragged
Did you
me out.
not go out in your 20s?
Yeah, I did. I went to
Oh.
Westport like every weekend.
Okay.
I know. I don't.
It's weird because I did too, and I had enough of those scenes. So that's
Yeah.
why I don't want to go.
Well, I also had some fun. I know you. Ugh. So, anywho,
Yeah, I got a bedtime of my bedtime is like 7 p.m. now. I mean, I tend to wake up about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, do you have other hobbies that aren't listed on the resume that we've seen? Like the
I don't
list of,
know.
I mean, do you have any other ways that you spend your spare time versus writing books,
well,
doing
I don't
real
really
estate?
have spare time. I fill my time.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
gonna
yeah.
say, when does he have spare time? I
Well,
mean,
just
how many
didn't-
books
I didn't
does someone
know if
need
we
to
had already
write?
talked about all the time filled because he seems like the most
No.
freaking
So I got
productive person
5
I've ever
kids.
talked to.
Yeah, I got 5 kids. My between my wife and I, we're my third wife. We've been married about 6 years, and she had 3 and I had 2. So they're all adults now, but they're all in their 20s and 30s, early 30s. Young adults.
Are
doing
they
young
in your?
adult
Are
stuff.
they in your area? Are they in the Pacific Northwest, or where are they located?
Yeah, they're all here. Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome.
And in fact, 2 of them are living with us.
That's awesome.
But it's good. But I was I expected this part of my life to be absent children, like that they would be out running around doing crazy stuff, because that's what I was doing.
oh,
but-
you and
but
I
they're
have a
not.
long
They're-
talk ahead of us.
They're actually here.
Yeah.
So my life isn't quite what I expected. So I do spend a lot of time like trying to help my kids that when they need help. Usually that's directed by my wife because she's in tune with that stuff. She's a people person.
Right.
She's the kind of person who is just completely focused her job and everything is just focused on people. And while my job is kind of focused on people, is totally focused on serving people, I'm more of a I'm less of a people person, maybe more on the engineer sort of side or something mentally, I don't
Right.
I would prefer not to talk to people than talk to people.
Right.
Because I
Yeah.
can do some stuff when I'm not talking to people. That's how I first started waking up early. On my first tour in Okinawa, I was given a job where I had to keep track of and maintain 3,000 plus pieces of equipment. I had no fucking idea how I was going to do that. I only knew that every day and all day, people kept coming up to me every 5 minutes, 10 minutes with, I need help with this. I need that. People needing shit all fucking day long. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't actually make any progress or
Sure, you
actually
could.
do
You were
the
doing everyone
job.
else's job.
Sounds
So
like real estate.
what I ended up doing was just saying, well, fuck this. These people, they're not here early.
Right.
So I showed up at work at 2 a.m. and started getting all my shit done by the time they showed up, or by the time PT started at 5. I'd already got a day's worth of my own work done, and then I could receive all their bullshit
Right.
and then deal with their crap. So that's how I solved that. And come to find out, that's still true. I can get a lot done in the morning before anybody wakes up.
So
See-
what when you wake up at 3 a.m. or around there, what's like, so if that begins your morning routine, what do you
I
do
start
between
checking the
3
news.
and like 10
So I do
a.m.?
so I do some trading of futures contracts and stuff like that. So I do that first thing. I check the news. I check the news online, and then I open up the trading platform and make sure all my stuff is the way it should be. And then that just goes until the end of the trading day. And then I start in with some real estate. Usually I have a plan from the day before that I'm gonna execute. Like I already knew when I woke up what I was gonna do with real estate. So I
Mhm.
start doing whatever those tasks are. And I'll usually do that until my wife wakes up. And then once she's off to work, I go back to it and just keep hammering away at the real estate until it's done. And sometimes that's all day. Sometimes I finish at noon, and then I clean the house, or I play some music. I play guitar and stuff. Been a musician for like 30, 40 years
See,
or
I
something.
just
See?
asked you if you
And
had
then,
any other hobbies we hadn't talked about.
No,
and
hold
now
on.
we're talking about guitar.
Oh, I have a
when
better.
it's
Knew
nice
it.
out, I go
I
hiking.
knew it.
I don't have another hobby, Catherine. I just do this shit. So that's what I play the guitar. And I write operas on the side.
And I like to hike.
Yeah. So gotta-
Two.
We got 3
Two
dogs, so
more.
the dog's gotta hike. When it's warm
It
out.
sounded like there was one small dog there. Is there? What
We
type of
heard
dogs
a,
do you
a
have?
little
small.
yipping.
Too
Yeah.
small?
I got 2 small ones and a big one that's a 100-pound retriever lab mix.
I'm a
Yep.
big dog person. Yeah. Well, David, I am so glad that you were able to join the show today. I think that if you'll be so kind as to join the show again, I do think we have some other topics that we can talk about, and it'll be there'll probably be more rabbit holes
Yeah,
involved.
that's fine. I can talk for a long time.
I'll
Yeah.
be more allowing of the rabbit holes.
Well, thank you
next time,
so
yeah.
much.
Mhm.
That is so nice
Yeah.
of you,
Yeah,
Catherine,
with a
to
little more
allow us to
leeway
do
each
that.
time.
I mean, it is nice that you draw us me back into the topic, but God, that can be annoying. I mean, for me, not for you. I mean, I'm sure
Actually,
everyone loves
there
it.
was a certain point in time where I was drawing us back in, and then a few minutes after that, you were drawing yourself back in, and that's the first time I've ever seen you do that. So
I
David,
did.
David
I
must
did.
bring
I
out
was
some
just no. I was
exquisite
so
qualities in
tired
me
of
that
you
we didn't
doing
know
that and
existed.
correcting me and drawing me back in. I was like, I will just fucking do this myself.
You were probably trying to draw me back in because I'll take 4 left turns.
No, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, you
I
were-
get it.
You were drawing yourself back in, and then I'd be like, yeah, okay, but we need to go one more level. And
Yep.
then, 10 minutes later, Rose like, okay, so getting back to the little, and I'm just sitting here.
I
my
know,
eyes are
mind
like
blown,
popping
right?
out of my head. Like, what did you just do? You
I
just,
know.
you just turned that shit.
Well, I
around.
mean, I don't think you
By
realize this,
yourself.
Catherine,
all by
that
yourself.
no, that my morning and David's morning start about the same. I wake up about 4:20 every morning, and I pack myself a big old bowl, not of cereal, of Mary
you wake
Jane.
up at the same time.
So
the routine
I
is a little different.
pack that. Well, it's similar. So I pack the bowl, and while he's out doing things, I'm sitting here thinking about
things.
doing things.
Yeah.
Yes. So
There you go.
Okay, let me just clarify.
yes.
There's there's bull packing that happened the night before, and the bull gets flamed first thing. So please understand. Please
Yes.
understand.
But
that,
you're a more productive
I go into a
high
trance-like state. I go into a trance-like state and just start doing shit.
Yeah, and that's how I
See,
am.
I
See,
fall
now we're gonna have
asleep.
to talk about the whole bull pack because because that really gets on me too. When people don't understand how focused, everyone just thinks that weed makes you just sit there and either laugh and fall asleep.
That's me.
That's why I was staring at you that hard. But it doesn't. It can make you laser focused. I went back and got a degree a few years ago, and there would be times where I would stare at a computer and couldn't figure out whatever I was looking at. I'd take a couple hits, and it literally would fall into place. I'd be like, oh, I should have done that hours ago.
That was cocaine for me.
I know. So, and then I'll probably
Which we don't do anymore, just to clarify.
What?
I said that was cocaine for me.
Oh my God. I have not tried cocaine yet. I always have
No
to.
need.
I haven't
Remain clear.
I haven't since probably 23.
Remain clear of that shit, young man.
You do know that it's 2023 right now, so do you want to clarify that
Since
statement?
I was aged 23.
Okay, that's better
Would've
because it
been-
could have been like,
In 2013, when David moved.
you know what?
The connections
I
we're making.
am now understanding why Bobby put up "Don't do coke in our bathroom." That poster may have been directly for you because you're doing coke in year 2023.
Nope, I'm not.
Okay, so no, I don't think I need to do that. There are some things that are on my list. Mushrooms.
I'm just saying everything affects people differently. So for you, pot makes you focus. It never did that for me.
but you may not have given it. You have to give it a chance.
I smoked for like 5 years.
Yeah,
Check
but
this out.
yes,
I got something for you. So I got struck with some PTSD when I witnessed some shit, and I didn't know it for years. Right, 10 years I had that shit, didn't know it.
right.
And then another incident happened, and it was my body kind of stopped working, and I kind of I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I ended up going and finding out. It turns out I had PTSD. I found out, right?
Right.
So anyway, a couple of years later, after I'm out, I'm getting treatment for that and some other stuff, and talking to therapists and you see a psychiatrist to get medications if they feel like they should give you medications. So I took some, and one of the things they gave me they use a lot of off-label use stuff. So what that means is they'll take a drug that's intended for one thing and use it for another because it has a side effect that is beneficial for this other thing. So one of the things that that does that, it was I want to say it was an antipsychotic drug of some type. I don't remember the name of it, but it was an antipsychotic, and they gave it to you, and this is the first time I've ever had any kind of thing like that ever. And that single freaking medication completely changed the way my mind worked. Like, I'm normally a pretty high energy person, as you've noticed.
Right.
I could talk forever. I've talked publicly, done public speaking. I've trained people in the hundreds at a time in huge groups. I can
it doesn't
communicate
sound
pretty
like
well.
you need cocaine at all.
Not at all, man. Imagine if I had that shit, it'd be terrible. but this stuff totally changed the inside of the way my mind was working, and the focus that it gave me for the first time, maybe ever, I could focus on one single thing. And man, I was making lists of ideas that were blowing my fucking mind. It was like being on the most amazing freaking mushroom trip ever. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
The downside was it had a side effect of really subduing everything.
Right.
So it was kind of didn't feel good to live like that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it was really cool. The focus part of it was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was a weird side effect. But that was years ago. You go through shit like that and get the help that you need, and then hopefully you can titrate off things like that so that you don't have to live like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really important to use stuff, tools like that if you need them.
Yeah.
So that's
And
why I
because
did
you
that.
never know
and I'm
how
so glad I did.
you never know how something like that will manifest itself. You don't you can't even
Oh,
contemplate.
totally. And you know how it was manifesting in me? And it turns out something very common. Is very common in vets, especially, is it manifests in anger.
Yeah.
And it's always anger that is uh, more than is called for the situation. Always.
Almost to where it could be
Um,
confused with like bipolar.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, like
Uh,
insane
absolutely.
irritability, but then like
Yeah.
unexpected
Like
outbursts. Like yeah.
like really angry. And then
Mhm.
if you put on top of that the mentality of an air traffic controller who's going to do things as soon as practical. I mean, you talk about a high strung motherfucker, and
Yeah.
then put that shit on top of them. Um, you're going to have to figure out how to dial it back so that you can be
How
around
do
people.
you not lash out at people in real estate?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
sometimes
I
I
mean,
do.
real estate takes a huge length of patience.
Well,
Yeah.
you had mentioned that for 2022, at the second half of 2022, you just kind of were not being as aggressive, as proactive
Well,
as you had been
So
because
I
you
went
just
through
kind
a
of
divorce at the beginning of 2022. And I felt like knowing myself, and I had had my time with high anxiety and stuff in my corporate career, probably like 2015, 2016. And I had gotten through that. And then I had changed careers. I was enjoying real estate, but then went through my divorce, and I just instinctively knew, like, I can't emotionally be there for these people. Like, I don't have the I just knew I didn't quite have the bandwidth to like take on like the business that I had done before, and the staying up till midnight and just dealing with every last question and every last like irrational thought that some of these clients have. Like, I feel like I go through these waves of, I have some really great clients, and then it's like all at once I have 5 clients who are just like completely, draining. And so I just was like, I need to probably take a step back. Like, I feel like I've missed out on a lot that I've wanted to do in my marriage and blah, blah, blah. So I traveled a bunch, and I kind of just, I dealt with the business that came to me, but I wasn't doing the chase that you were like referencing earlier. Like, I wasn't doing all the extra stuff. I really wasn't marketing myself a lot. But I had a network of people that were still referring to me, and I took care of that. And that's about it. And after being away from some of that, like the emotional side of everyone for so long, it kind of was hard to get back in the groove this year. But I'm back into it, and of
And you haven't
course
choked anyone
the
out yet.
real estate gods always, challenge you when you have those moments. So as soon as I was like, okay, I'm gonna refocus, I'm gonna get back into this. This is what I need, and I need this structure again, and I do care about people, and I want to help them, and yada yada. Well, my first, 2 or 3 clients getting back into it have been extremely difficult. So it just was such a test for me. Like, do I, can I really do that? But
do you have very
I
many
dodged the
difficult
bullet.
do you have very many difficult clients, David? And how do you
Oh, yes. Oh,
interact
yes.
with them?
every agent
I-
has
I-
They
difficult
do.
clients.
See, I'm not around, and I don't.
The thing is they're different. A lot of people can be different as clients than they are, as normal people. Like, they're under a very high stress situation.
It's extremely emotional. It's
Yeah,
an emotional
it's such an-
stress. It's a
They
stress
will
machine.
do things that they otherwise wouldn't do or react
There's
in a certain
nothing-
way.
And
There's
so,
nothing more stressful than buying a house except for planning a wedding.
so I will tell you.
Plus, they feel very personal about it,
Yeah.
with the seller or buyer, whatever, whoever's on the other side. It
So-
feels very personal to them.
So our 3 houses that we bought and sold, my parents had someone. My mom went to college, graduated in 1960, 61. So Lane was very old to begin with, even in 99 when we bought our first house. But they wanted us to, hey, use this guy. And we're like, fine, whatever. So we used him. And then it was really difficult the first house that we bought because we were in Wichita, which is 3 hours from Kansas City. And I was working retail. And so I would have like 2 days off in a row, but like in the middle of the week. So like on a Tuesday night, if I had Wednesday, Thursday off, I'd send and this was 99, I would send my agent, Lane, I would send him like 10 houses. We want to look at these 10 houses tomorrow. And the market was so hot by the time we got here the next morning, 8 of them were under contract. So it was very difficult. But then when we sold that house, we had already bought our next house. And we still had this house before we put it on the market. It was a small house, our first house. So we'd moved all the furniture out. And Bobby got not really upset. She just wondered whether we priced it right. Because he told us this is what you need to price it at. And the very first, it had literally been on the market like 30 minutes when we got a full price offer for it. And the same thing happened with our next house. Then when we sold that, it just seemed like he always had it priced perfectly. And Bobby was always afraid that we left money on the table, especially that second house.
You're always priced perfectly.
Yeah.
You're always priced perfectly, especially if you're getting an offer in 30 minutes. Are you kidding me? That's great. What you want to do is wait and let them keep coming. Because if an offer showed up in 30 minutes, there's going to be more offers that are going to show up probably that same day.
Yeah.
So
and I think Lane was one of the old bird in the hands.
Well, it depends on how it depends on how far into that type of market you were. So if she wasn't so far into it that she could be that confident about waiting,
right?
That's one thing. But we right now, we're years into this, so we're like, yeah, you can wait. Like I could confidently tell somebody, you can wait.
Yeah, and see, I told Bobby, so on our first house we sold, we had already bought our second house. And so this is before like doorbells and stuff, ring doorbells and stuff. This would have been 2006. And so we knew we had just gone on the MSL like at 3:00 and someone had made like a 3:30 appointment. And so we were all home, but we had to leave. So we all left and we told our neighbors, hey, let us know. Oh, no, we were at the new house already. So, because we had already moved to the new house. So we called our neighbor and said, hey, someone's coming to look at the house. Will you tell us what, they literally, it was supposed to be like at 3:30. At 3:35, they called. They're already gone. I was like, fuck. 10 minutes later, we get a full offer. And so we took it. And Bobby always wondered, do we leave money on the table? My thing was, how about if that would have been the only, because I didn't want to have 2 house payments. That was always my dread by buying the new.
You know what? You could still take the offer and still let it bake. And here's how you do that. It's reasonable, Mr. Buyers or Mr. Buyer's agent, for my sellers who are not here, by the way, to have 24 hours to review an offer.
Right.
I've presented the offer to them. They're considering the offer, and they'll give me an answer by tomorrow morning.
See, and I think Lane, this is why I would have needed someone like you or one of Catherine's coworkers that they could have see what I did there.
And then,
glare at me?
And then when you get more offers, you're gonna get more offers. If you got one in 30 minutes, I'd be shocked if you didn't get at least one more offer that same day. When you get those 2 offers, then you stop everything.
See,
every damn thing.
And this may be weird, and I am 100% going to say I'm remembering this wrong. But it seems like back then that people they weren't the bidding wars that we have now. Like even in 2014, because we're just coming in. So we had to wait. We wanted to move out to the country we bought our house in 2006, like literally 2009. We're like, oh, we should move out to the country. But our house had lost so much value. We wanted it to at least get back what we bought it at. So we waited till 2014. But it was just so weird because we had sold them so quickly and everything. And Bobby was worried, but we never had an agent that worked with us. It was always like, and now I wonder if that was a misservice.
Selling quick is good, but the techniques have evolved over the years. Back when you're talking about 10 years ago, people really weren't as good at getting people to fight for a house as listing agents are today. Listing agents are today are friggin' most listing agents today, that's the only thing they've ever known. They haven't seen anything but a seller's market. There's agents walking around.
I haven't seen anything but a seller's market.
Who if the market turns into a buyer's market, which doesn't even look like that's going to happen where I'm at, I mean, based on what I'm seeing, but if that were to happen, I believe somewhere around 75% of the agents in my state today would disappear or stop functioning, because they would be in an environment that they don't understand. They wouldn't know what to do. You know what I mean? They'd be just like bumping into walls like a lieutenant just got an OCS. You know, don't know what the fuck he's doing. Sitting at a desk for 6 months, waiting for business to make coming.
So are using almost like retail speak, are agents that are fairly new to the industry that only know like the strong buyer's market, are they kind of like just cashiers that check people out and not really having to work at it?
Yes.
Okay. Wow, that was the way you looked at me and
Not
just
every,
that one.
well, like we're saying before,
Here's the
it's
thing.
not every
If you-
agent, but
Right.
Yeah, if you grew up in a place, so yeah, if you grew up in a place and you haven't left and you've got a network of people that you know and you become a real estate broker, there's no reason in the world why you shouldn't just by fucking osmosis of freaking just letting people know what you do. Should be more than enough to just feed you if you do nothing else because everybody fucking knows you, right?
Right.
As long as you don't have a reputation of being an idiot before you become a real estate broker,
or
that
dishonest.
could
Yeah.
that
Right.
could or dishonest. That would be another
Mhm.
thing that would people wouldn't want to work with you if you're
Mhm.
dishonest. So there are those issues. But if you have a network and you capitalize on that, it's crazy. It's crazy not to do it. It's
Right.
crazy not to exploit that. But if you don't have that, Jesus Christ, you have to take such a completely different approach because you just don't have that.
But as
It
far
just
as
doesn't
what it
exist.
takes to actually get a house sold, I do feel like
Oh,
the agents who've
yeah.
probably come into the market in the last 2 years, they've all come in mostly because they've only heard about how easy it might be
Yep.
Right.
Yep, yep.
to get a house sold. So they don't have the same,
And it was easy.
you know,
It
hunger.
was.
Like they don't have the same work ethic about it. They're not willing to
Yep.
invest the amount of that you need in marketing. And so
Yeah.
I am
I've seen cell
thankful
phone
that
pictures.
I still don't know a buyer's market, but I still feel like I came in at a time and I joined a group that still had a full service model, even though, yeah, in theory it's easier. You could just throw it onto the MLS and just wait for your phone to
Yeah.
ring with an offer, or you can still, you know, actually work for your seller, like try to get it to everyone because that's what's going to get the most people in through the door, which is what'll get the bids going, which will get you more money, which is representing your seller the best. So you still
Yep.
should market it to the fullest, even though you know that if you didn't, it still would sell to somebody, you know. So it's just a difference in like work
But what would you
ethic, I
rather have
think.
as a seller? Would you rather have that one offer that showed up in 30 minutes? Or would you rather have 6 offers because 2 of them showed up on the first day and the second day 4 showed up while you were countering the first 2 or negotiating with the first 2? See, when I get multiple offers, the first thing I do is stop everything. Stop everything and say, "Hey guys, I just want to let you guys know there's another offer in play
Mm-hmm.
or there's 2 other offers in play." And I want to give you guys an opportunity to tell your clients that just in case they want to modify anything before I present these.
So
And I'd give them an opportunity.
Yeah, and a deadline.
And what that
Yeah.
opportunity is, basically, I'm getting them to fight each other, okay?
Yeah.
the weird
my
thing
seller.
is the way that I remember it is that it was almost like if there was already an offer in play that detoured other offers. That for whatever reason, that is maybe my agent made it seem like, oh, they already have a full price offer. And
That usually leads back to demand. I
Yeah.
mean, if you know that if you don't go for this house, it's going to be another several weeks before you find another
Right.
one comes available, or there's one that you
Yep.
know fits your criteria. You're going to fight for that house.
yeah.
So
Yep.
that's a demand thing. I think is that at that point in time, like people just didn't have the fight in them because they're like, oh, there'll be another one. If you don't have that, there'll be another one feeling, then you're going to do everything you can to get that house, and you have a certain timeline. And I think every seller has. Ultimately, most of them want the most money, but there still are sellers out there that have different, you know, goals and
I
motivations,
just want the right
timelines,
family
and
to
whatever.
raise the
Like,
kids in this house.
there's always different things, and
man.
as an agent, you know, we advise them on what we think is in their best interest, but they still have the ultimate decision to, you know, whatever works for them. So
Okay, I'm going to ask this is going to be the final question. I'm going to ask the same question of both of you. Catherine, you just get to answer yes, no. David, you get to answer yes, no with an explanation. Because I'm not sure if I've ever asked you before, Catherine. So, have you ever met someone, your first meeting, no matter what setting, whether you knew you were going to talk about potential real estate dealings, or you just met them somewhere and told them you're a real estate agent? Have you ever immediately said, I will not work with you. I cannot work with you. You only get a yes, no to this here in the studio / my living room. Come on, it shouldn't be that hard. If it's that hard, then I'm going to say you've never done it. That you've never just told someone to F off. Sorry, I don't help.
Well, I can't ask clarifications on your
Sure,
question.
go ahead. You can ask clarifications.
So you're saying that they
For whatever reason, a
proposed
bad
that I
vibe.
work with them?
So say you're
We
out.
weren't just talking about real estate. They proposed that I'm their agent.
Sure. I mean, I don't even know because, and this is weird too, because we've only used the same agent when we've bought and sold houses. So it was a friend of mine. I would have not gone out and selected Lane. So I don't really know what.
If I'm at an open house and somebody comes in,
like, how
and
do you
they're
usually
talking
meet
to
a
me,
client?
There are certain people that I have met that I'm like, I'm not gonna.
Like a douchebag vibe or something. Douchebaggery, I believe, is what we call it.
Once you're in the business long enough, and especially at open houses, I feel like you get a pretty good radar for people that are just going to waste your time.
Yeah. That is an amazing yes/no answer. Thank you very much. I have something for that.
So I guess the answer is yes, but in real estate, there's always so much gray. It's
So
like, well,
you guess the answer.
situation.
You guess the answer is yes, and then you still continue to talk again.
Anyways, yes.
Okay, cool. So David, same question to you, and go ahead and use as many words as you'd like.
Do you need any
Yes.
clarifications?
I don't
Yes,
understand the
so-
question.
That happened to me 2 days ago, actually.
Really?
Some guy called me. Like I said, I built a system that brings people to me. So this guy calls me out of the clear blue sky, starts talking to me about wanting to purchase a certain thing that is basically bare land or something like that to build stuff on.
Like bare
and
land,
he's-
like there's and I know this is gonna sound stupid, but I'm a genius. This is how my mind works. You mean like there's
vacant-
animals bare on the land,
No,
or
no.
Land.
there's no land?
vacant buildable land.
He's in Seattle. They have bears there. It's not like Kansas
do.
City.
So,
Okay,
but
sorry.
That was a
but
good one.
the way this guy was talking and the phraseology he was using was just made it exceedingly difficult for me to communicate with him. So what would have normally been, of course I can help you. The MLS is open in front of me right now. What do you need? Would have been the normal answer, turned into me asking a couple of questions because he sounded weird. And like am I going to be able to fucking talk to this? And by the time I asked 3 questions, I was giving him the address to my office to go find an agent there because there's plenty of them there.
Right.
It was so bad that I wasn't willing to even try to refer this guy to somebody because I didn't want to deal with him. It was so bad.
So you did or
So-
didn't send him to your office?
Yeah, he went to my office and he's working with.
Did you
another
have to
agent
call
now.
your office and warn him? Did you call and like Catherine answered
did.
and you're like,
I
hey,
absolutely
Catherine,
did.
sorry. A-hole,
said-
you're coming your way. You're breaking up, sorry.
I said, I got a guy coming in. He's asking for this. I can't get to the office to help him out. Please ask around and see if there's an agent that's handles this specific type of thing that maybe could talk to him. And that's basically how that got handled. But yeah, I knew right away that maybe that wasn't a good fit for me. But I've probably sold maybe about 120 some homes total my whole time that I've ever sold, and I've only fired 1 client. And it takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes, and hopefully you pick them right up front so that you don't have to do that. But sometimes people act crazy, like she was saying. That people get emotional in these things, and it's very emotional.
Yeah, that's
And
I
some people
watch. I do watch a lot of those like videos and TV shows. Like my wife likes Selling Sunset. I do like those. That's more like office dynamics. But I do like watching the videos on YouTube of. There's a guy like Enos something that goes and tours these like multi-million or $100 million like homes and apartments. And I look at those and I just think those are so amazing. But then I'm like, can you believe the fucking asshole that you would have to deal with? It's either going to buy or sell that. I mean, if you have a $144 million apartment on Billionaires Road, there's no way that can be. And I get it, the commission. That's just not my personality.
I've got some stories of those. I've actually shown exactly what you're talking about in Silicon Valley to some people, and those are extraordinary places when you're talking about 20 million and up.
Yeah.
In fact, right when I was doing that, the one guy in the office down in Woodside sold one for 121 million, I think. At the time, it was about 2011, 2012. It was the most expensive residential sale ever in the country at that time. That's crazy. $121 million for a fucking house.
I know. I know. And I can't wrap my, but it doesn't, I mean, I still look at it, but I would never. It doesn't matter if money literally was no object to me, because I still have a rational mind. And I look at that and I'm like, oh, we'd have to clean that. And I know a typical response is, well, if you could afford that place, you would have a cleaning crew. And I'm like, but I wouldn't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want a house.
Acreage.
I wouldn't have a house bigger than I can take care. I would rather have a small house and a lot of land where I'm out on a mower or something doing stuff. Now, I will say that being in a small apartment nowadays, after being in relatively larger homes, I do desire a much larger kitchen for my wife. And I'm going to sound weird for this, but I'm a man who loves a good closet. I like suits, and I love a good closet. I would love to be, I always say that I'd love to be a real estate agent, but that's only if I didn't have to sell or help people buy houses. Then I could do it.
You know, I look at it more as advocating, because that's really what I'm doing. I advocate for clients that I have, and I help them do things that they want to do. That's all I'm doing. It's so much more like being a leader in a leadership position than it is like being a salesperson, because I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything.
Right.
I'm just trying to help people do something they already want to do.
I honestly hate that we are licensed as real estate. So in Kansas, you're called a real estate salesperson when you're licensed. I hate that we are called salespeople, because I'm like, that's honestly
Sales
the
girl?
last thing that I feel like.
Yeah.
Sales lady.
Some agents will act like that, so you feel like you're going to the used car lot, you know, when you walk up to them. But like, I agree with David. I feel like salesperson is not like the primary like identification that I would use for myself.
I'm more of a problem solver.
Catherine and I have talked on the show previously about when we were talking about real estate, how much it's changed, because like Ring doorbells and stuff were just coming into being when we had bought our last house. So that wasn't really an issue. So I was asking, do you have to warn clients when you go to doors and stuff? But I will tell you, that is the number one reason. Okay, and the top two reasons of me not being a real estate agent is I literally would want to have sex in all the houses. Like, seriously, like I would be selling someone's house. I'd be like, you have an amazing house. There's going to be an open house and have everyone out. And then my wife would come over to have sex with her in the house. I mean, I just feel like as a real estate agent, that would be hard for me not to want to do.
That's why you're not a real estate agent.
I know. This is why people don't ask me to
You're
dog
too
sit for them
unique.
either. I'm too what?
Unique.
Yeah, that's a good word.
I know.
I haven't been called
very
that.
nice word I chose.
You may be surprised at how not unique that is in the male gender.
Yeah. Ha! Whoa. I mean, it's more of just a marking my territory thing. And I've often said, and so here's the thing. People think it's funny when I say, hey, if you ask us to house sit for you or watch your dogs, whatever, while you're out of town, my wife and I will have sex in your place. And I am 100% upfront about that with people. And the amazing thing is no one asks us to do that. So you know what? I never have to watch anyone's house. So when you have a friend that says, oh, I can't because I got to go over to Joe's house and let his dog out, you know who's not doing that? This guy. And if I am doing that, their dog's watching me have sex.
So next time I'm in a listing appointment, you're telling me when the client's like, well, we also interviewed, Joe Schmo over here. I'll be like, yes,
just
Joe,
wink at the lady.
Very good agent. Very good agent. One consideration would be that,
he has an STD.
Most male agents will fantasize about having sex in your home. So if you don't want that,
No, I think we're physically having sex in the home.
At
Sometimes
least
worse.
fantasizing it, if
There's
not.
a studies show that there's a 65% that a male agent will masturbate in your home
Can
while
we
you're not here.
send?
What?
Can we
There.
send
Is that
out
really-
that poll?
No, I just made that shit up. Come on,
Let's-
man.
Can we? No, I mean, like, can we create the poll and send it out and see what the results
April
are?
1st is coming up. That would be hilarious on April 1st.
Survey
to send that
monkey.
out. Yeah.
Survey
Can
monkey
you
will do
believe
it for
this? Oh, that would be no.
What's
that
the
would.
company name we're going to use as the company sending out this survey?
Oh yeah, we'd have to be. What was the name of Arrested Development? The Bluth family. So we'd probably get in trouble for that too, because they were a housing
Yeah,
development
we can't
thing.
use another name. Yeah.
Okay, Dunkelman with
Anyways,
2
we'll
M's.
cover that later.
Yeah, we will cover that later. David, thank you so much for being on the program.
No problem. I had a good
Man,
time.
it has been amazing. This went, like I said at the beginning of this, Catherine and I have never had a remote guest before, so I thought this went swimmingly.
You've done it on your own, but we haven't co-hosted.
Yeah,
with a remote
co-hosted
guest
with,
yet.
and we've had a third guest here in the studio, which is my living room. But so I just thought it went great. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day today to talk to us about real estate. And we didn't even get to talk that much. I mean, we talked a little bit about air traffic control, but I still think there's a lot that we didn't even cover. So I hope that in the near future, you may consider coming back and being a guest on the show again.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Are there any things that you want to promote? Website, Instagram, anything that you want to promote on your way out?
The only thing I'm really focusing on right now is probably looking for home sellers in the Seattle area. You
Okay.
know, we're looking to fatten up our inventory because it's February, and by the time Super Bowl Sunday gets here, that's when the shit starts hitting the fan in the buyers, in the buying of real estate. And the inventory here is freaking short. There's more buyers than there are sellers. And I don't want to see this place slide back into a fucking seller's market. Quite frankly, I need some damn listings so I
Right.
can feed some buyers. So if you're in the Seattle or Tacoma area,
Is that
Should I give my number?
davesellsinseattle.kw.com?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. that's my email address, davesellsinseattle@kw.com.
Okay.
That'll reach my email and I can respond pretty quick. So, yep, looking for inventory.
This
That's
is a
what we're focusing.
pretty damn good choice of agent from my
Yeah.
assessment.
So-
Someone who cares about taking care of you and does the right thing. So
I do have happy clients. The only unhappy client I have is the one I fired.
yeah.
Right.
So-
And if I
So-
I know you're looking for listings, but if I have clients here in Kansas City who are relocating to Seattle, which I actually had one a few years ago, but if I have any more, I'll definitely keep you in mind for a referral.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
send them to me. You got any military bases around you?
We have, what, Whiteman?
But that's, I mean, I think that's
Fort
60
Scott's-
miles.
Fort
Something-
Scott's 2 hours away, man.
Yeah, but Whiteman's not in Fort Scott. And
Whiteman's not?
No.
Oh.
And Fort Scott's was a fort in the 1800s, not in the current day. It's
Oh,
just a.
Well, there's an
confused. I don't
outside
know
chance
shit about
I
the
could have
military.
I could have an Air Force person heading that way or something. So
Oh.
I'll certainly send them your way.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, David, thank you so much again for being on the show. Catherine, thank you for co-hosting with me as always. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to term this, instead of the Stone Genius, it's going to be Catherine and the Stone Genius. Why do you always get first billing? Oh. If your arms are
You
longer,
gave it to
could
me.
push-
I never
know.
made any demands.
Yeah, well, I know you didn't. So, David, thank you so much. I look forward to having you back on the show, hopefully in the near future, because I think there's still a lot that we can talk about. And there's a lot of rabbit holes that I believe that Catherine will let us delve down next time.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Cool.
make sure we
Sounds fun.
covered, the high points of everything and then dive deeper next time and rabbit hole the fuck out of it.
I don't think that's an actual
Cool.
term, but thanks for trying, Catherine. I appreciate it.
I make a lot of new terms.
I know you do. To everyone else, thank you so much for listening to the program. My name is Ro. I'm the Stone Genius. Catherine, we had David Gowans on the show. We'll talk to y'all later.